Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on the forum.
And this is Parker, now going by Dr. Mantis Toboggan MD on the forums, now that I got an awesome sweater.
Oh my god. This is Jeremy. Just hashtag Parker's. I just don't get it. Yeah.
Hashtag Parker.
And this is Aaron.
Welcome, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
Hey,
you use
Aaron.
your forum tag. You're supposed to put your forum tag at the end.
Well, I used to go by Aaron. We'll see what I go by in the future.
Yeah.
You probably got excommunicated from that forum.
I'm pretty sure my account's suspended. I'm just saying. Alright. So, announcements for today. Parker, you're down to 699 episodes.
Good job.
Hopefully that can last through the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Finally under 700. Moving on. Parker, do we have some news?
There is news.
News.
So we have sorry, oh my god. Like I feel like an entire hairball got stuck in my throat. That's terrible.
This is a terrible joke that you're making.
No, that was real.
It's not landing.
But Ursa Major is covered in hair. That's where I got the joke.
Okay.
We also have his card, Ursa Major, alias Mikhail Ursus, which is a lot of people have pointed out how lucky it was that a guy whose last name was Ursus ended up becoming a bear. But he is a 4-cost, 7 health on both sides. He moves short. He's size 3. Do we know if he's on a huge base or not? I haven't been able to.
I believe he's on a large, but I'm guessing. I haven't really looked.
The large base.
I can look.
You do that.
Millimeter.
So he's got 3 physical, 3 energy, and 4 mystic defense. He's got 2 attacks. His first one is a builder, a range 2, 5 dice with a wild bleed. He's also got a really interesting spender, range 2, 7 dice, cost 3. Before damage is dealt, size 4 or less character is immediately thrown short, and after the attack is resolved, the target character gains stagger. So one of them happens before, so you always get the throw. The other one happens after and gives a stagger, and neither require damage. I was actually looking through the game. Are there any other things like this that are that, like in a spender? I just want to talk about the spender for a second.
Yes, there are.
Okay, who else has a spender like this that's that consistent with effects?
Kingpin, I think.
He has a wild throw, but not.
But it auto staggers.
Yes.
Still. Yeah, it's before damage. If the target is size 3 or less, it may throw it short, and then Hail to the King is auto throw and auto stagger.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 2/7/3 as well. It doesn't do up to size 4 though. It does up to size 3.
What about Rogue's attack? It's like that too, right?
It's size 4, but
Southern
no stagger.
Yeah, it doesn't stagger.
Oh.
Still good. Yeah, this is on par with some of the more premium spenders in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic.
He also has charge for 2 power as an action. He also has Ursine Temper, which is his throw, a terrain feature, size 3 or less within 2, throws medium for 3 power, and he also is aggressive, so if he takes damage, he can advance short.
So Jeremy, what's your take on this guy?
Garbage. I don't know why we need a different version of Black Dwarf. You already have one. As much as I would love to a giant fucking bear to fight and like tear shit up, because that's what I like to do. No, I just don't. I don't think he's any good. His stats, he'll never be kept alive. He has his defensive stats are crap. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm missing something. Y'all tell me.
Parker, what do you think?
As a 4-coster, he seems lackluster in the defensive department precisely. But he has a few things that are notable about him. A lot of characters in the game are only reactive, and he is that, but they're not proactive. Or they're only proactive and not reactive. But he's both. He has charge, so he can be proactive. He's aggressive, so he can be reactive. A lot of characters in the game can do lots with their spenders, but he does everything you want with your spender. Some characters say I can throw a character or a terrain feature. He throws a terrain feature or does his spender. that can only cost 3. That's the same range as a lot of people's a throw of a character, and you get to roll 7 dice and stagger on top of it, and you're always throwing because it's before the damage. Like when you look at him at first, you just seem like, okay, he's how could he be 4 points? But I think it's because they gave him a bunch of things that other characters have one of. They gave him all of them. But the thing they did not give him is guaranteed survivability. He's just health.
I obviously he's short on the defensive department. I think he might be better on the table than he looks on his card. When I first saw him, I was really disappointed. The more I read it, though, I think there's something maybe here, primarily just because he's so hard to control, and that's obviously Winterguard's theme, is like, you can't control us, that's what we do. And so, as long as he doesn't just get obliterated, then I think he'll be probably pretty good. But yeah, I think that obviously him staying alive is going to be the issue. Aaron, do you have any thoughts?
So I think he can actually be controlled pretty well.
Really?
If you're playing anyone who can throw him, right? Let's say Vision walks up, throws him away. Okay, he doesn't get to use aggressive. He's going to spend all his power trying to charge back, and then hope he builds it back on his 5 dice builder. Lackluster 4/4 threat. Love the spender. I'm just not sure he'll be as effective against a team that can control him, either by advancing him or throwing him out of the way.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's going to be really strong. I think he's going to be really... Go ahead.
I'm like, if you just throw him and don't bash him into anything, he's not going to get any power for nothing. Like, he'll never get to do anything.
I was going to say, on turn 2, he can charge, right? And so you can't stop him from coming back unless you throw him long. So Juggernaut can throw him not into anything on turn 2, and then he'll have he'll only be getting 1 attack when he comes back. But I mean, I think I don't think he'll feel very good if you have to spin to check, because then I think you guys are right that he's never going to feel like he has the power. He's going to move twice and spin to check. But
he's just straight not good, I think, on a lot of pay to flips anyway, because he's 3s in the important stats. He's speed short, even though he's on a medium that's not overly quick. He can get to the middle points, but he's not getting to the far points. He doesn't have the power generation to justify spending all of his power on the defensive pay to flips. I don't know what he's supposed to do other than just be a mediocre 4-point brawler. And I think aggressive is a good ability. I think it's becoming less important with the current meta that we've seen lately. It used to be a lot more important, I think. Charge is obviously great. Charge is one of the better abilities in the game. But I just don't see this guy hitting the board and me being afraid of him, like, ever.
I almost wonder if he's going to have something excellent, like as a card. I hope he does. That's something that
It could.
I had the same desire for Electra. I was like, oh, what if Electra has this really cool card that lets her do something really cool, but then she had absolutely jack and shit. So,
well, I mean, he's way better than Electra is, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And so I think we're probably just used to seeing super, super premium 4-pointers, and he's just not. He's just an okay average 4-pointer.
Yeah.
He's got a great builder, he got a great spender, and he's got charge. He's got an okay throw. That's all okay stuff. Like, I'm glad they're not just power creeping the game, but like, he definitely doesn't stand up to the grunt characters.
That's exactly what I said when I saw him. Every single time I see a new character now, my butthole clenches a little bit. Go, please, not another Nick Fury. Please, not another Daredevil. Please, not another Nick Fury. Please, not another Daredevil. Because I hate to see this game just like fucking every single character's up, way outside the Jedi curve. I like it when games are nice and everybody stays in that bell curve. Every once in a while, you have to put somebody outside of it, or else you don't get a rotating meta. But I like it when characters stay in the bell most of the time, and I feel like this guy is near the bottom of the bell. Actually, he's a little below average, but I like that he's not
fat?
that. No, I'm trying to say that he is grossly obese. He's a fucking bear.
Is anyone else shocked he doesn't have damage reduction?
I'm shocked he doesn't have damage reduction, and I'm shocked that he's not size 4. Those two things.
He's only on a medium base, so I understand the size 4 thing. Like, grizzly bears are big; they're not Hulk sized, right? Like, I'm fine with that. But yeah, I read his card. I went, all right, he's 3/3/4, okay. And I read his superpowers, and I went, wait, I reread his superpowers 2 more times. I'm like, where's the damage reduction? Am I just missing it? Like, am I blind? I read charge thinking maybe it's in his charge power. Like, I didn't understand. Like, it seemed so obvious that I was literally shocked.
I'm more shocked he doesn't have 4 physical defense.
Right, like, and that's what I thought justified it so much, is that his defensive stats were so poor. Like, how is Zemo noticeably more defensive than a giant bear? Like, that doesn't make sense.
So he does have one tactics card. Don't know what it does yet, but it's definitely his because
Yeah.
it's titled Bear Hug. So
Oh, it's definitely going to be a throw, right?
he already throws on both his
Doesn't throw people.
No, unless it's Spender.
It's Spender.
I don't know. We'll see.
It'll probably be like an attack that maybe it'll be like Monkey Brain Lizard Home, where it's like, I do this AoE attack, everyone gets pushed away. Like, it could be something like that.
So I really wish they had gone more into the you can't move us off points. And I really thought that's what they were doing with Winter Guard as a faction. Like, we're tanky, we're brawly, we're going to walk forward slowly, take it on the chin, ask you a question. Can you kill me or move me? I realize that both Dynamo and Darkstar have anti-movement shenanigans, but they're also tied to characters that are power-starved.
Well, it seems so far like all their characters are going to be power-starved.
Yeah. And they're going to be spending on a lot more than just not being moved. So if they had given him a 0-cost superpower that says cannot be moved, that'd be amazing.
That'd be way too good.
Really? I mean, that
has to cost power.
I don't know. Maybe you tone him down a little bit, but something like that. Like, let's just double down on the I am sitting right here.
Yeah, I think aggressive is probably as close as they wanted to get on a generic character like Ursa, but I guess we'll see. So, Parker, you mentioned that Ursa being his name was like a bit on the nose. I don't get it. What is the reference to Ursus?
Well, Ursus
is that like
Ursus is just, I believe it's Latin, right? It's
just Latin for bear.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that. See, that would make sense then. I was like, why am I out of the loop on this one?
Yeah, Ursa is just Latin for bear. So literally his last name was Bear, and so they named him Bear Major or Major Bear. He's a major in the Red Guard. Yeah, so he's just like, so he 100% is his name was Mikhail Bear, and then they made him into a bear. And so he is Bear Major. Like, that would be the equivalent of, Samuel Chipmunk being turned into a giant chipmunk and called a Chipmunk Colonel. Like, that's what they decided to do.
Is it difficult in the military for a bear to rise in the ranks, or is that pretty common practice?
Not if he started as a person.
I think if a bear is trying to do anything, generally it's easy.
Yeah, I honestly find that people tend to give high status to animals in general. Like, there's that dog that got elected mayor.
Yeah, I think if there was a bear who stood up on hind legs and like growled in your general direction for like I don't know, like a seat at Denny's, I think he gets.
I guess it also depends. Which military are we talking about? Like the Khador military, because he'd be a general in like 3 minutes flat. Like he's like, you are a bear, like an actual bear. Will you hold this axe, general? Like that's just how their military works. Their most elite combat unit is called the Great Bears. Like they're just all about it. All right. So finally, moving out of news. We are currently playing. We all went to Show Me Showdown last week, which was super fun. Do we want to talk about our games? I don't want to spend too much time on this segment because we do have some stuff to talk about. Parker, do you want to talk about your games?
Sure. I played.
Keep it brief.
Yeah, I played my Shadowlands Daredevil stuff with all the rapid fire models, and I won my first round against a guy from out of town. It was a laid back game. It was really fun. He was a great opponent, and he actually killed a lot of my stuff. It was Knockdown Draga who's playing Shield. Second game was against Black Order, and it was just a race to the end through health, just trying to eat through each other's army as fast as we could. And I needed Killmonger to have a really good activation. He had 2 full activations and attacks to do, and he rolled. God, I mean, what are his dice plus all the ways to give him dice? It was like a minimum.
Pretty sure Aaron hit the cap in his game against me.
I was gonna say, I
14.
think I rolled a minimum of like 30 dice plus the rerolls. It was like 30.
Yeah.
It was like nearly 40 dice, and he rolled 2 hits. Like it was just really bad 2 turns for Killmonger, and so he beat me basically by a Killmonger. he had just had Thanos on his injured side left, and that was what he needed to win. So
Yeah.
it was a good game. It was much closer than it appeared because Killmonger had some bad turns, and that was that. My third game was against Perrin, which is Aaron's son, and he has the worst luck against me. It's just terrible, and we recognize this that our games always come down to just some really sad thing that Baron forgets or I remember at the last second. In this game, the highlight was he had a Dr. Voodoo on 1 health with the 2-point objective. I think it was a senator. And he was definitely very much in the game. If he could just take out my bullseye, he was really in good shape. So he rolls a regular attack against bullseye, and he almost one-shots him, does 3 damage. And I go, parting shot? And he goes, just like face palms as hard as he can. And that was pretty much the game. And that's the way all of our games go. It's always like some series of comedic errors, and then Perrin loses. One day, Perrin's going to get me. Perrin, if you listen, one day you're going to get me. I believe in you. So I had a really fun. I had a fun day.
Find you.
Yeah.
One day he's going to get you.
Yeah. We play a lot of games actually. We have played a bunch, and every time it just comes off with some poor. It's always some pitiable thing that happens to him. So.
All right, Jeremy. What do you remember from your games that you want to talk about?
I'm excited about my list. I've been doing the Dormammu Black Order kind of mishmash thing with Brotherhood. I'm actually enjoying it a lot. There's like tons of cool options I can do, and it's basically scary in any iteration. So I went 2-1. Played good games. The guy who beat me was a pretty decent player from out of town, and ended up winning the whole thing. And I got to tell you honestly, and I'll just say one thing: he wanted to win. You could tell that. So I'll leave it there. But I enjoyed my list a lot. I enjoy it every time I've played it. I went 2-1, and then the tournament before that I went 2-1 as well, and I had a good time. So let me think if anything else interesting happened. I played Connor. Connor, the last game was a lot of fun. He chased me around with his Hulkbuster, and I put it into the goddamn dirt. So that made me feel pretty good.
Not a big Tony Stark fan.
I love destroying big toys. Even though I like to take big toys, I love mashing them as well. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying.
I think the game would be better if you couldn't take models that cost less than 5.
That would be a whole different thing, right? I'm having a really great time playing this game right now in this environment, particularly with the list that I've got going on. And the other thing, my prediction was that Recalibration Matrix is the new what is
Medpack?
it? No, not Medpack. Field dressing. By God, I've been right every fucking time. I have completely stopped my models from getting killed, and it's always on the last time that they can do it, and I will turn around and beat the shit out of you. It happens every time. It works great.
Dude, I think Recal is hugely underrated. It has been for a long time, but it does cost 3, and you have to have it at the time, but usually
it costs
it's when
4.
they're already trying to kill you.
Does it cost 3?
No, Recal's 3. 3.
Um,
The 2 newer ones where you only reroll either the attack pool or the defense pool, those cost 4.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. Again, John does a great job with anything he's involved in. Had a good time talking with everybody, and good time all around. That's it.
Okay. Moving on to my games. I played John from Omaha. We had a great game. He played Guardians into my convocation. The game was going pretty well for me early on. I Faithful Assistant power to Strange double moved, and because I went second on what's the name of this mission? Legacy Virus. His Groot picked up the Legacy Virus in the middle of the table, and I scalpeled his Groot range 3 back towards my board edge and put him in range of both Doctor Strange and Ghost Rider. The following turn, Ghost Rider 1 rounds Groot, picks up the Legacy Cure, and then rides long away. So I have 2 of the Legacy Cures now. We go to the next round, and he's putting a lot of pressure on me. He's doing a really good job of getting Angela in a spot where she can really threaten all of my characters. So I end up scalpeling all of my characters away from him, and kind of turtling up because he got 5 damage on Strange and like 4 more damage on Ghost Rider. I was just trying to live through the round, and in hindsight, it was way too conservative. I ended up losing by, I want to say it was like 2 victory points. I basically just shouldn't have left. I should have gone into Angela. But I totally forgot you can't reroll dice against her. And so I went to do it the first time, and he caught me with it, and I rolled not great. She took like almost no damage. And I was really nervous about doing it again because I knew that was going to decide the game if I went in on her again and came up short. And later in the game, I was able to get 1 attack on Angela with Ghost Rider. She had 3 health left. She had the last Legacy Cure, Ghost Rider the other 2. So all I needed to do was get 3 damage through. I came up 1 damage shy of winning the game right there. And he pulled it out. He did a really good job. Second round, I played a pretty new guy that Aaron had just played. We played a pretty fun game where we basically both took as many Mystic attackers as we could and had a brawl in the middle of the table. It was pretty funny. And then last game, I played Aaron. Apparently, I did not know at the time, but I was trying to Dream Crush Aaron because Aaron was undefeated and I was the pair down. I did not know this at the time because I wasn't paying attention. And I got pretty close. I put him on his back heels, but I'll let him talk about it more if he wants to. Aaron, your games.
Okay, first game, so I was playing Shadowlands, typical rapid fire stuff. First game against X-Men. The big takeaway there is my opponent was playing a I want to kill you strategy, not necessarily list. I mean, the list was solid, just typical X-Men. And I was like, that's great, I'm going to try to kill you, but I'm also going to play a scenario. And so he ended up doing more attrition than I did, even though I was playing Shadowlands. But I won just because the scenario means more in the end. So if you are relatively new, don't forget scenario should always be your primary goal. And if you're losing on scenario, switch to attrition. At least that's a tactic. Second game, I went up against Connor, and he was playing his Web Warriors with Miles, Gwen, ASM, and Hulkbuster. So the crisis was Infinity and Researcher. And if you haven't ever played something like that with a wide, secure, non-pay-to-flip, and Researcher, you should play that a couple times because it is always interesting. Like, what do you do? I didn't want to go take Researcher because I wanted him to take Researcher so I could get all my Shadowlands rerolls and just annihilate him. And of course, he didn't want to give it to me, so it was this cat and mouse game of who's going to go to the middle first. It ended up being me, and he was going to have a great Gwen turn, and I just one-rounded her with Daredevil. So he ended up giving me Researcher for 2 turns in a row, and then he was going to have his huge crackback turn. And then I said, no, things are going according to my plan. So I stole priority, and I one-shot his ASM with Bucky, and the game was over. So
yeah, brutal.
Interesting from a what do you do crisis standpoint, but the game I just diced him. And then my third game against you, Brandon, and your Strange got the important extract, and I eventually killed him and took it back. Is kind of what that game boiled down to.
I played Legacy Cure all 3 rounds and never got priority. It was so terrible.
But I gave you two of the cures. I baited you. So here's an interesting question for
baited air quotes
for you listeners out there.
I baited you.
So across from Strange, I had Rocket, Bucky, and Killmonger.
Yeah.
And I chose to let you go take the virus with Strange. Mm-hmm. Newsflash, I failed to kill Strange with all 3 of their activations, including an R&D'd Bucky who got to hop over and quad tap you. Not on Book's turn.
Didn't get to quad tap, just for the realm.
Did he not?
Because he didn't rapid fire.
Oh, that's right.
He didn't rapid fire on one of them. You only got the 3 attacks.
Should have been able to quad tap.
In my defense, I had him positioned to where he was going to place into cover on the first damage instance. And so it was Doctor Strange in cover, not just Doctor Strange.
This is true. I still think the odds on dazing Doctor Strange are probably over 50% with that setup. I also had R&D to Killmonger. So you're getting Rocket, potential quad tap from Bucky, and a Killmonger charge into Strange.
I do have energy absorption on those Killmonger attacks, by the way.
Yeah, screw you. So I
love
do
re-rolling into
four.
Trip Wilds. God, it makes people so mad.
I did 4 damage with a Pierce with Killmonger into Strange, and this jackass rolls
Yeah.
Trip Wilds and blocks.
Yeah, I'll take 0. Goodbye.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then just immediately obliterates Killmonger on the following turn, and then ports away. And he's like, "Goodbye." He's like, It's like I set up a trap with 3 characters. He just wanders off.
It was a really fun game. I enjoyed it a lot.
It was actually a super fun game. Again, I think I'm pretty disadvantaged in that matchup. I made a few mistakes. I think I could have pulled it out if I hadn't made a couple of mistakes. But there's no question dice were on my side in that game. I was definitely up. Maybe not massively up, but I was noticeably up on dice.
You say that a lot,
fun.
Brandon. I was very disadvantaged in that game. Do you ever play a faction
Oh
that's
no,
advantaged?
I just don't talk about it when I'm advantaged.
Oh, okay.
I talk about it when I'm like when I'm playing the game. Like I should not win this an even amount of games. Like I should lose more than I win.
Okay.
I just think it's important to point out against, especially because I know you feel like every game for you is uphill until you look over and realize it's 20-0, and you're like, oh, I guess this was fine.
Yeah.
So I feel important to point out to people like you who can't take the goggles off during the game. To know, like, just so you know, this is a game you should win. And then you're like, oh, okay, because you always seem so stressed when you're playing.
Yeah, I'm really high. Yeah, I'm really myopic when I play, for sure.
All right, moving on. We're going to go into our main topic today. We're going to go back to rating some characters now that we've got our new cast member, Aaron. I don't know why that's relevant. I just figured it was important to point out.
They're all Fs. They're all Fs.
Fs. Negative Fs. All right, so... God, I'm an idiot. I'm like, who is Kane Marco? Just fucking hit me. Oops. I know that guy. All right, so today we're going to be rating the Brotherhood affiliation. If you are unfamiliar with any of the Brotherhood characters that we're talking about, feel free to pause the podcast and go back and refresh yourself on the cards. We're not going to review the cards. We're just going to immediately start talking about the effectiveness of the models. So, Parker, go ahead and pick one of the Brotherhood members that we are going to rate first.
Can we just start with Juggernaut? Can we start?
Sure.
I want to start
That's
with him. I'm actually really
All right.
interested.
So in our normal cast order, it is Jeremy, then Parker, then me, then Aaron. And so, Jeremy, what are your impressions on Juggernaut's offensive potential in the game?
Offensive potential. Well, he creates his own power. He can get where he needs to get, and he will connect one of... Yeah. So, yeah, he creates his own power, which a lot of models struggle with. They can get there, but they won't have their power or whatever, or only get 1 attack. Good news about him is generally he does his 1 attack, and it is 8 dice. So, with that in mind, he just drops the dice, and we stare at him, and you go, what is it? Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's bad. I put him in the category of he is capable of shitloads of damage, but that doesn't mean he'll do it, because he doesn't have any sort of flattening of the curve type things. What's the scale of rating, or how are we doing this? Am I just talking?
So offense goes 1 to 10. We kind of usually have a discussion first, and then we give numbers at the end.
Okay.
And so you're just giving your overall impression of his offense. You're doing fine, but we're kind of gonna rehash this a bit, so don't worry. Mainly point out stuff you think that's interesting about his offense.
There you go. So I've said everything I think that's important. He throws a wad of dice at things, and sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. But I can tell you when you roll 4 dice at something, you're not going to kill a 5-6 health model. If you roll 8 dice at something, you have a pretty damn good chance of just whacking it. So that's better than a lot of other models. I'll stop there.
All right. Parker?
He's one of those characters that, in a given game, you'll probably see him attack as many rounds as there are in the game, right? He'll attack once because he's so fast. So one part of his offensive suite, I think, is the fact that he will do like 4 plus whatever damage he does in dice with that single swing each turn. Because he's got his one character he contacts suffers 1 damage, and he does that often. So I think when you look at Juggernaut, you might play him 3 games and only have 1 game where you felt like he was really outstanding. Well, that's because he's rolling dice so much less than other characters in this game. But the fact that he does it very consistently every game, like you can't really, nothing can stop the Juggernaut, right? So you're really consistently getting to roll his dice. So I think that's one of the interesting like dualities about him is that unlike some characters that will roll lots of dice over the course of a game, but can be controlled. He's so difficult to stop rolling his dice, but he's only going to get to roll once, or around 4 times a game. So I think it's really interesting. It depends, I guess, what kind of character you want for offense. Do you want one that's going to roll lots and flat, let you see that nice curve, or do you want one that's going to spike hard?
Yeah. Okay. So my impression of him is the most important thing about his offense, like you guys pointed out, he only attacks once a turn generally. It's that the defense does not change based on the attack pool. So eight attack dice is so much more likely to overcome a defensive roll that he's so rarely doing 0. And then when you're combining that with the auto damage he does on the front side of being able to bump people and deal 1 and then throw stuff on the backside, that is an amount of offense that is hard to match on another model. Admittedly, though, his maximum potential is fairly low, but his floor is fairly high as well. It's pretty hard for him to do meaningless damage in a single turn, because you're rolling a bunch of dice all at once, and you can follow it up with an auto damage. It's pretty important. Aaron?
My Juggernaut accepts the challenge to do no damage on his turns.
It happens. I mean, there's certainly happens, but we see in the game how many times do people have 3, 4, 5 cost spenders that roll less than 8 dice. Like, it's very common. And so the pure damage potential is very high for what you're paying.
So, totally agree. I agree with a lot of what everyone said. I want to hit right on what Parker said about rolling dice consistently but not spiking in terms of quantity. I think the game right now is at a state where quantity of attacks is better than the quality of those attacks. And Juggernaut brings 1 quality attack every turn. And
Yes.
for that reason, he is a below average damage dealer for a 5 threat.
Okay. All right, so moving into numbers. We'll each give an offensive rating. This is not against other people of their power level. This is not against their peers. This is against the game as a whole. So the worst being probably Wong, and then the highest being characters like Magneto and Corvus. And so giving a character a... one thing we've talked about in the past is on a defensive rating. If character is 3s across the board and has 10 hit points, they're a 3. That's a 3 out of 10. And so anyone who has that profile and doesn't have other defensive abilities, they're a 3 regardless of what else is on their card. And so just rating them on a bell curve, remember. So being that Juggernaut is probably more likely to deal damage or has more offensive potential than an average 3-pointer, keep that in consideration when you're giving those numbers. Jeremy, what would you give Juggernaut for an overall offensive rating? 1 to 10.
I'm going to come out the gate high. I know you're going to flip, but I'm going to go with an 8.
Okay, that is higher than I expected. Parker seems startled. Parker, do you have a rebuttal?
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like he's the definition of a 5.
Ooh.
Because he just... You can watch him in a game do absolutely nothing except 4 damage, because when he does, he only going to roll 4 times, and if the 4 times never spike.
I don't think that's a fair argument. That justification, every other character in the game can deal 0 damage. So,
but that's not you're not going to see that in a character with rapid fire, for example. You're not going to see that because a rapid fire is going to.
Sure, rapid fire is, I think, a fairly unbalanced rule, and it's clearly the gold standard at our point in the game.
Right.
But rapid fire generally comes on short range models, and it's not guaranteed.
So I'm comparing him against the game.
Yes,
I think there are literally half characters in the game that get things like dice mods and extra damage out of things like throws. He does have a throw on the backside, which is not nothing, but there's there are lots of ways that other characters get lots of extra big chunky damage. He just gets his one big swing unless he's on his backside. So yeah.
But I think part of what we're also rating. So if we just added up all the attack dice characters generate throughout a game, what do you think the average would be? Like in a 5-turn game, which is pretty standard.
Okay.
How many attack dice would you say the average character rolls?
Okay, so probably 5.
Because you're probably making somewhere between 4 and 6 attack actions during that 5-turn game, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
Average attack being 5. So even if we just said 5 times 6, you're getting 6 attack actions, average attack dice is 5, 30 attack dice in a game. Well, Juggernaut in that 5-turn game is getting 40 attack dice.
Mhm.
And it's happening on fewer attacks, which means they're rolling less defense dice and damage resistance against your rolled dice.
Mhm.
So he's clearly, I think, and by that argument, above average.
And I'm including the extra, like, he pushes into you and gets an auto damage, man.
Exactly. The auto
That's
damage
crazy.
alone, I think, puts him at a 5. Because the fact that he can do effectively throws without having to throw people.
One of the things I like to look at is like other characters and what we rated them as. And I know they've
Mhm.
become skewed over time, but we put like Proxima at a 5. We put Ebony Maw at a 5. And I feel like he is similar.
Well,
I feel like
okay.
he is similar to them. Obviously not, his higher point value, so he
all right,
should do
so
more than them.
you've said a
but
5.
I
That's
said a
fine.
5.
I think we have to keep. We're way over time on this guy already.
Yeah, good.
People have been really droning on their takes because I think they want to be thorough, but we need to get through it too.
Okay.
I'm giving him a 6. I think he's. I would actually, you know what? I'm giving him a 7. I think he's the auto damage combined with the high dice pools make his, when combined with also his threat range, the fact that he's almost always attacking, nobody's ever preventing him from attacking really, is absolutely huge. So I'll give him a 7 out of 10.
I concur with your 7 rating.
So we're going to take our average and do the best we can. So we have 2 7s, a 5, and an 8, which is going to average 6.75. So we're giving him a 7.
Yeah.
7 out of 10.
Ship it.
Ship it. Cool. All right, so defense. Everyone at home knows what his stats are. So, Jeremy, is there anything important you want to bring up on his defense before we give numbers? Again, we're just hitting the highlight exceptions. We don't need to give a paragraph example.
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to add
Pretty
anything.
obvious.
Go ahead. I don't. He's very defensive.
Parker? We'll just go general discussion, I guess, for these since we want to get through them so quickly.
Sure.
Does anyone have a point they want to bring up about his defense in general?
I'd say the obviously has the ability to DR anything in the game. Not that many characters can do that. Any damage in the game, which is a big
I think
deal.
it's relevant for stuff like bleed. Like a lot of characters
Right.
have to just take the bleed because they can't afford to shake it.
Right. So I think it's really cool that he can stop DR from things like crisis cards and other effects. There's tons of effects that just say do damage, and it does get around DR or some other effect. He actually stops it. Also, the ability to stop being pushed in advance means you might not set him up for the thing you want, like cool beam attacks or throws and stuff like that. So he's also size 4, harder to throw, harder to move, harder to take that kind of damage. I think there's lots of things about his helmet and nice punch that help a bunch.
If he's not a 10, I don't know what is.
Ooh, that's a bold statement. Well, Thanos used to be the 10.
I still think he is the 10.
I
Man,
I think they're comparable.
they are comparable. That's a good point.
They have
like
the same
one has
health
More
level.
importantly, why would you ever attack Juggernaut? Like, it feels like such a waste of time.
Well, when Juggernaut's got 2 hammers, he's got to go down one way or the other.
Fair. Okay, so let's go for ratings. Jeremy, you go first.
I'm gonna go with an 8 again. I'll stay a little lower than a 10. 8.
Parker?
I'm actually going to go with a 10.
Man, you guys are killing me with this.
He's big. He's bigger than Thanos. He has better defensive stats than Thanos, and DR is better than Thanos. I think.
I think I'm... The problem is now I'm considering him in other affiliations that already tune up his defense even more. Like, Brotherhood gives him cover, X-Men give him cover, rerolls and Convocation. I think I'm going to go with a 9. Hold on a second.
Also consider no one wants to get him on his backside.
But he actually is weaker on his backside on defense.
Oh Jesus! But that throw comes live. No, thank you. No, thank you.
I think I'm going to give him a 9 just so we have... But God, I'm trying to imagine them making a model better than him at defense then.
That's the thing. He's better than. Thanos
Yeah,
at
I'm
defense.
fine with it. 10 it is. Aaron, can we expect a 10 from you as well?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. We'll do the old roundup. 10 it is.
I don't have a problem having him as the standard for.
Yeah, the gold
fine.
standard for hard to kill models.
Mm-hmm.
If he just had 16 hit points in a fresh block like Hulk does, he would unquestionably be a 10 because you couldn't daze him. But God, he's such a pain in the ass. So moving on, we next up have support. So he has no support, correct? Can anyone argue he has support? Support being things that benefit your team in some way, that other than himself. Seems like a no.
No.
So that's going to be a 1 out of 10. We're not even going to rate it. We're just going to move on. So control, he definitely does have some control. He's got the auto push on his builder. Not auto push, sorry. He pushes on wilds. And then I'm trying to remember. He has something on his other one, doesn't he? He just gets to do rush.
It's
Okay.
a notably not size restricted push, right. And he rolls 8 dice, so wilds do pop up.
It's true. It is fairly common to push. So let's see. He also has his amazing throw card, which is the best throw in the entire game.
Right.
I would seriously consider bringing Juggernaut in any list just for that card. That's how good it is.
Yeah. So considering the card on top of it, I think I would give him. Well, actually, Jeremy gets to go first. Jeremy, it's your call. So obviously, do you know who I am is the real consideration here, and then he has a fairly reliable push on his strike, and then he has a throw on the backside. Is it throw people?
Yep,
I think it is.
Size 3.
Yeah, enemy character as well. So yeah, he can also throw people if he gets injured.
If midline is a 5, I'm gonna say he is 7 because his shit is real good. The shit he has is real good.
Keep in mind, there's characters like Peter Parker and
sure, one of them's got to be a 10.
Yeah, Thanos we gave a 10.
I mean, he's not even close to a 10.
Oh no, we only gave him a 9.
We gave Thanos a 9.
I think
or 6.
That's fine. I think 7's a bit high. Yeah, I think 6 is probably more in line. But that's my opinion. Parker?
I think he's I'm going to say 6 because of the card. I don't think he's 6 without the card. But since he has the card,
definitely
6.
agree with that. I'll go 6 as well.
I would have said 5 without the card, but that card is so impactful. I go 7 with the whole package. That card can straight up win you a game.
Jeremy, did we talk you down to a 6, or are you sticking with a 7?
Oh, I'm fine with that. It's good.
No, you it's not you're fine with. You need to say which one you're for. This is
when it comes
vote.
to then I'm going 7.
Okay, that's going to
I
round
think that
up.
Card
Do
is
7. Yeah, he's a 7.
7 it is. Okay, Aaron's new for this, but we have this written down in the podcast notes. So we've got 6 classes that we refer to characters as, and they generally fit within those 6. We haven't run anybody who hasn't yet. And anytime they kind of justify for multiples of them, we go with what is the pure concept of the character, what's the most important thing to them. So we have blasters, which focus on range damage. We have controllers who focus on board manipulation, action control, and debuffing. I guess the examples are blaster example is Rocket Raccoon, and a controller example is Peter Parker. Brutes, who are like tanks and frontline characters that focus on survivability, we exampled Black Dwarf. Scrappers, who are focused on short range or melee damage dealing, we exampled Corvus. Skirmishers are mobile, evasive, hit and run type characters, we exampled Black Widow. And then defenders, which are support, buffing, and protection characters, we exampled Captain America. That was before the change, so he might be a little different now. But so, is everyone in agreement that he's obviously a brute?
He's a wizard.
No, not at all.
You don't think so? What do you think he is? A scrapper?
Nope.
Okay.
He's control.
Controller.
Absolutely.
He's controller.
Not because he is moving people like Peter Parker, but you do not bring Juggernaut to sit on a point. He's not a tank. He gets where he needs to, and he affects the scenario board state in a way that almost no one else can.
Well, the answer is really like he clearly justifies multiple. He's a brute, he's a scrapper, he's a skirmisher. Like he does all this stuff. He's also a controller. So in his core character design, what is the most important concept to him? And Aaron, you're going with controller?
Yes. If he didn't have, so let me ask you this. If he did not have unstoppable momentum, would he ever be played?
Unstoppable momentum.
It's what lets him move.
No. Nothing stops the Juggernaut was what lets him move. Unstoppable momentum is when he moves, he gains
You're
power.
right. If nothing stopped the Juggernaut didn't exist. Like, that defines him. So if you're going to pick a role, that role has to coincide with that superpower.
Well, doesn't that make it more of a skirmisher? Because it's more about mobility than control?
I could buy that too.
Okay. What do you guys think?
I know playing against him, I always just imagine a world where I will never kill him. So to me, that's wherever you want to put him, I can't kill him. He's just the ultimate.
You think his big thing is being a bully?
Yeah.
Okay. He definitely is not a standard model. There's nothing like the Juggernaut in the rest of the game.
No.
Nobody is that kind of mobility combined with that kind of like brute force.
I would classify him as kind of like a heavy skirmisher. Actually, I really like that. That he's always going to be where you need him to be. He can be almost anywhere to affect the game, which I think is kind of the definition of a skirmisher, right? Mobility is their high point.
Okay.
So I think he's like a heavy skirmisher.
Yeah. Much like I would give an example, Hulkbuster. Like, he's hard to kill, but his primary functionality is he's mobile. He's a skirmisher. He's moving around, moving other people too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this guy's really impossible to really put into one of these. Just like we did the same issue with Thanos.
I like the comparison of Hulkbuster. I think they both are wily motherfuckers.
I'm gonna go with skirmisher. Is anyone against that? Like, wants to argue with me about skirmisher? So thinking his core concept is mobility. He's unstoppable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The fact that he is unkillable is a plus.
Yeah.
All right. So that is our overall rating time. So we have a 7-10-1-7 skirmisher. Jeremy, give us an overall rating on Kane Marco.
Based on mouthfeel.
Overall mouthfeel.
Overall mouthfeel. I'm gonna give him. God damn it. I keep falling towards that 8.
8?
I feel like an 8. I like an 8.
I mean, he has 8 health. That makes sense. He rolls 8 dice.
Yeah. See? Fuck. It writes itself.
And he's also, it's the number of corn, and he's red. So, like, we got it.
Nailed it.
I mean, isn't his avatar of Sidorak? Isn't Sidorak the god of destruction? That's as corn as you can get.
Close. Yeah.
True enough.
Parker?
This is when we get to talk about like affiliations too. He is so welcome in so many affiliations. I feel like he's a great like 5-drop. You have to find he's one of those characters
incredibly independent.
Yes, so you have to find a reason kind of not to take him. Like you already have something in the faction that's doing something similar, and he doesn't really. There's not really anything like him. So if you put him in a faction, I go, okay, yeah, you probably find a reason to take him, or you'll take him almost every time because it's excellent with your faction. So. I think I don't know if he pushes 9 because he doesn't have the ubiquity of some of our 9s, but I think 8 is a really comfortable place.
Okay, so 8 from Parker. I was actually leaning 9. I'm gonna give him a 9 just for pure enjoyment of play. There's few models you can put on the board and not give a shit and just have as much fun as you have with Juggernaut.
It's true.
So I'm giving him a 9.
I was going to say 8, but what you just said is not wrong. He is a heck of a fun model. I actually don't think he's broken either. Like, he is...
Is there ever been a model other than, like, a few in the game that just fucking nailed their character concept as well as this card? Like, watching him on the table is like, that's Juggernaut. That's what he does. Like it's exactly Juggernaut. He runs all over the place. He hits people in the face. He throws shit. Like, it's Juggernaut.
No. I'm still going to go 8 for my rating, though. My rating's 8.
That's fair. Very fair. So obviously this is going to average down to an 8 then.
He's just let me down offensively too many times to warrant a 9.
That's totally fair. So we put him in at the 8. So next character up. We let Parker pick last time. It was supposed to be Jeremy go first. Sorry. Jeremy, you get to pick the next character.
All right. I'm going to pick this one because I want you to try and sell me this dog shit. Sell me Gambit. Boy. Please.
Gambit! Oh, I love Gambit. What are you talking about?
Dog shit.
Remy LeBou. All right. So, again, people at home, refresh yourselves real quick, and we'll get into it. So, overall, starting with offensive potential. Let me get his card pulled up. I'm going to have to refresh myself a bit. All right. So, me arguing for Gambit's offensive output. For starters, he's got 3 attacks. That's more than most people.
Oh, good.
Secondly, all of his attacks do different things. No, but for real, I actually think Gambit is fairly underrated. I don't think he's an all-star 3-pointer. That's completely justified. I kind of wish he had like a 4 energy defense or something that kind of made him stand out from the pack.
We're talking about attacks,
but
he
doesn't.
Offense. Talking about offense.
Yeah, sorry. It's really the real trick we're talking about here is he can affect his own defense or attack dice pools by adding dice to them, and he can change a hit to a wild. So he's a fairly consistent 3-pointer once he starts getting power. He's also a 3-pointer that can push size 3s. He has a lot of different options for attacks, and his 52 card pickup is actually not bad.
Cool interaction. The accelerate charge, doesn't that work for his whole beam, right?
Yes,
Yes.
it works for all the beams, although
Yeah.
that's a 7 power combination, so obviously you have to, get closer to that. And enhanced agility, which is basically parting shot, right? Yeah. Parting shot is hugely underutilized in the meta right now.
Yeah.
So many characters don't get played that have it that are really good, and I think it's something that needs to be paid attention to.
So the 52 card pickup combo is 7 power, but it's really 9, assuming you want to pay for the wilds, which you do. So Gambit, in my
Yes.
experience, has one incredible turn. You're like, nope, I'm going to move, you just dazed me, I line 3 people up, and welcome to all the dice I ever wanted.
Yes.
And that's it. That's all he does.
He's I think probably a pretty mediocre 3-pointer, but on the offensive side, he's a 3-pointer with an energy beam. He can add dice to his pool, and he can modify his own dice. Even if you just constantly throw kinetic aces at people and make stuff explode, that's not nothing. Like, almost guaranteed explosions on range 3 attacks is really cool.
He should probably be played a little more than he is, but I don't know that he's great.
He also has a really interesting tactics card, but we'll talk about that on defense and support. So, Jeremy, give me an overall offensive rating for Gambit.
Well, I'm 4.
Parker?
I was going to give him a 5. I feel like he's
I'm going to agree with Jeremy. 4.
I'm going to agree with Parker.
Ooh.
If you look at
Son of
everything
a
on his card,
bitch.
it's all geared towards offense.
Yeah,
Accelerate
that's what
charge,
he
something
he
extra.
does. Yeah.
Yes. Like if you don't want to do damage, you need to take someone else besides Gambit.
Yeah.
That's fair. So my issue with giving him a 4 over 5 is he doesn't get to do big damage more than probably once a game. And so if he's just consistently small damage, he's not overly impressive. It's really about his one big turn combined with his small chip damage throughout the game.
But if we're talking like a regular, let's say, what you would consider normal damage is a 3, from a standard 3 threat. I don't know. It depends where you set the bar, but
So this is just every character in the game attacking.
right.
So if we just took all 118 characters and divided them into 2 piles, which pile would Gambit be in? He's obviously in the smaller pile, but if we divided it again, would he make the next tier and make it to like the top? Is he in the top edge of the bottom half? I think he's not quite, but we'll round up to a 5.
Oof.
Just barely got it. Moving on, we have defense.
Oh God.
This is his worst stat. He does have his version of parting shot, enhanced agility, and he's not really a big target, but he is a short range character, so he's going to be in the fray a bit. Anybody have anything to say about his defense? Is enhanced agility good enough to make a noticeable impact? He's going to be a 3 if not. Does anybody want to argue for a 4?
Oh, absolutely, at least a 4. I mean, enhanced
think-
agility is
You think
good.
just parting shot puts him into the next tier?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say it's just better than Counter Strike, like, right? And
Oh yeah.
and because it allows you to move and you'll always do a damage. It's so much better.
You sold me on a 4. Moving on to support. The only support he has comes from... Actually, he's got multiple tactics cards, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got 2 of them.
Dark Past and Charming Thief. Charming Thief is played during the power phase. This round, when any character within 4 of Gambit uses a power, he gains a power. So basically, he gains the Soul Stone for a round if you play Charming Thief. Man, cards that don't make your 10 even nowadays.
I played it once.
News at 11. His other one's actually pretty solid. It's play during the power phase. If your squad is not using the Uncanny X-Men affiliation, Gambit may play this card. Each allied character within 3 of Gambit gains the stealth superpower until the end of the round. I've put in rosters and not felt bad about it. I don't think I've ever actually played it though.
Real quick, from a rules interaction, that is a pulse. So you play
Yes.
it, those characters
They
gain
do not-
stealth, and then they and or Gambit can move around.
Correct.
And they
Oh,
retain
really?
stealth.
It's not an
Yeah.
aura. Oh, that's much more
Yeah, it
useful.
says they gain stealth, not they have it while within 3.
Oh, that's much
Yeah.
more useful.
Yeah, so it's you play it, it happens, and then for the rest of the round, those set characters have stealth. So is this card get him above a 1?
Yes, it has to.
Okay. So where's it get him? 2?
I think definition of a 2, right?
Anybody arguing against a 2?
2.
2 it is. Moving on to control. He has a push on his range 2 attack, and that's it. But he can push size 3 people. 2?
So
Does he make a 3?
depends. What if the push wasn't a wild? What if it was an auto push? What would his? I think that's how you have to grade
If
him.
he could auto push size 3s within range 2.
The range 2 is my issue, but it's still basically an auto push size 3.
You know what? That's a fair point. He's probably really good solo on a flank against somebody else trying to hold a point. Because he can just, as long as he doesn't roll like 0 damage, basically, he can get him off the point. And he's probably got 2 chances at it. Yeah, okay. I'm sold on that. What do you think? Maybe a 3 or a 4?
I'd go 3.
Aaron's saying 3?
Because he's got to be really up in the fray to make that happen. And as we already talked,
Yeah.
his defenses aren't great. So he has the
And it's-
potential for control,
Yeah.
but based on how close he has to get, I'm not sure he's going to actually be doing it a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. You sold me. 3 it is. Anybody have an argument against?
None.
Okay. So moving on to his class. I think he's obviously a blaster. Does anybody disagree?
No. He's a blaster.
All right.
Jeremy, give me an overall mouthfeel on Gambit.
I'm going to say 4 because he does have an auto push. He's going to earn you at least 1 or 2 points during a game using his
Okay.
corpse. Like,
He's
that's
using
it.
his corpse.
Because you're playing
his
Shield?
cold ass body is going to get it because honestly, he's going to do a thing in a game and probably get you a point and then die. Like, that's all he can do.
Can you really ask any more of him?
No, you can't because he's dog
He's
shit.
from Louisiana. I mean, he's got a
Careful, you know how triggered Parker gets.
I know he does. Parker's been quoted as saying that Gambit is the single most influential character in the entire MCU.
The MCU?
MCU.
Because he's in that one movie for like 7 minutes. Not even 7 minutes, it's like 7 seconds.
All right. So Jeremy, you said a 4.
Yeah.
Okay, Parker.
I was actually going to say a 3, but just because of how it really is in comparison to other models, you don't reach for him, right?
Never.
I feel like you
Yeah.
don't. I feel like you don't reach for him.
But is that a correct, or is that just like people don't bother? I think you sold me on a 3.
Yeah.
Aaron?
It's a 3.
3 as well. 3 it is. The 3s have it. So it's my turn to pick. Who do I want to pick? So many good choices. Yeah, we're going to choose... Oh, we already did Magneto? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Fine. I guess we'll go with... I can't remember their names. Oh, I know. We'll do Rogue. Rogue will be fun. So anyone have arguments for Rogue's offensive potential? So
it's
obviously
basically
she's
unlimited. It's power.
Yeah, she can
It's
do
power,
anything.
but I mean,
Yeah, she highlights are she chooses her attack type with her basic, which is awesome. She gets to do it really proactively because she has charge and she usually has power. She can turn, more damage because she can throw size 4s. I mean, she can really be a super spiky character, and consistently spiky character.
she's the
Because
only
even
one
her-
that can spend and just blow you apart with that one thing she does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She definitely can get on a roll.
right.
Like,
whoa! I mean, if she rolls 2 sap powers and does 3 damage with her strike, like she's just gonna start eating you, and it's really, really hard to stop her.
She
Okay,
can't be. She can't be
um,
kind of swingy though.
Yeah.
she is very swingy because
I mean-
she like a lot of characters, if her builder is on fire, she just gets on a roll and just doesn't stop. But she does need the power to get the roll going.
Not every character
Um,
does that though. Some characters
true.
build 8 power and then just sit on it, and they even have spinners
Jeremy,
when they don't do anything.
give me an overall rating for her offense.
7.
7. 7's good. So we're combining action economy with damage type selection, and also has a throw. So all good stuff. Parker.
I was gonna say she's an 8. I actually think she does. Her ceiling is really high. I like her ceiling a lot.
I'd go 7.
Man, you're gonna put this on me.
Oh,
I think the fact that she has an auto throw size 4, 2 ways. Oh, she only throws terrain on this one.
mutant
I'm gonna go 7.
absorption's crazy.
I'm gonna round down to a 7. Yeah, because she doesn't have any way to circumvent defense other than just choosing damage type. She still has to get the damage through, but she does have very premium attacks and actions. So moving on to defense, obviously having damage reduction's big. Jeremy, do you have an overall rating on defense?
Well, physical 4, damage reduction. That's
12
it
hit
though,
points.
right?
Yeah, she's pretty straightforward on defense.
Mutant absorption is kind of defense if you're taking them out of their spenders and throws. Maybe.
No, it's really not. That's under control.
I would say probably a 5, 6, probably 6. She does have
Yeah,
stuff.
she's got to be above a 5.
Yeah,
she's
yeah,
definitely above average in the game. Parker?
I think she feels like a standard. I think 6 is good. I like 6.
I'm gonna go 7. I think damage reduction plus a solid frame is good. There's not a huge amount of characters that are noticeably more difficult to kill than her. She's not amazing, but I guess she doesn't have dice mod. So I'm going with my 7.
I concur
Sticking
with
with it.
7. 12 hit points, 4/3/3 with DR. Maybe 6 or 7 characters in the game that are better.
I think if she only has 11 hit points, she probably drops down to a 6. I think it's a close argument. All right, so now the fun stuff. Support. You know all the supporting she does?
She does have a control card that makes you pay to not attack her. That's a thing.
Yeah, Mind If I Cut In is Rogue may play, and then when enemy character is choosing a target, if Rogue is an option, they must spend 1 power to not target Rogue. And then the other one is Pardon Me Sugar, and then it's basically wall of text that says she gains a random ability that an ally has. Or sorry, anyone has, but that character suffers a damage. It's Wolverine, Cyclops, Storm, Deadpool, and Magneto she can steal powers from. So does she make it to a 2? I don't think so.
No, Mind If I Cut In is -1.
-1. All right, 1 it is. Moving on. Hey, bodyguarding is kind of support.
For 1! You force the opponent to spend 1 power.
Hey, taxing people is fun.
You're telling me that makes anyone's 10? No.
No, it doesn't. Well, we'll talk later.
Okay.
All right, moving on to control. She definitely has control. Her spender auto throws. She can steal power from people. That's super cute. She has sap power on top of it.
Kind of
Jeremy,
a lot.
give me a control. I mean, she's not the best controller by any means, but she's got some control.
Yep. I mean, she's got an auto throw. She's got a lot. I mean, I'm gonna go with 7.
Oof,
Feels good.
That's a lot. I will say that the mutant absorption people tend to overrate, but the real value of it for me is if you're going into somebody trying to daze them, you can then drain the power off the person next to them so they can't retaliate against you once you take that person out. And that is almost immeasurable in value.
Well,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
wasn't
give a-
measurable until they got rid of field dressing.
Yeah.
The control amount. No, she controls power on other models almost better than anyone. She's crazy when it comes to power control.
All right, so you gave her 7. Parker, we need a number.
I will give her a 6. Really, for Southern Hospitality, I think mutant absorption can be cool, but I think it's Southern Hospitality, and that's a 6.
Yeah, I think she's better than most. I think 6 is fair.
I concur with the 6.
All right, the 6s have it. Class. What class is Rogue?
Ninja.
I don't want to go first. Someone else go first. Is she a brute? Does she want to just get in there and like beat people up and not die?
Yeah, I think she's a brute.
Definitely from like an aesthetic standpoint, she's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
She's not really hit and run. She's more just engage.
Yeah.
She's kind of tanky. She's not really a controller.
What is a scrapper again?
Scrapper is up close damage that focuses primarily just on dealing damage.
She could be a scrapper.
Yeah, usually when it's close, we give the brute the nod.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because brutes can deal damage too. It's just that their primary focus is not dying. If I could definitely see the argument for Scrapper over brute though, because it seems like her offense is her primary focus. I mean, the only thing she really has defensive is damage reduction. So, yeah, I'll vote for Scrapper. Anybody against?
Scrapper as well.
4?
I'm in.
Yeah, Scrapper. Go Scrapper.
All right. Jeremy, give me an overall rating for our 7716 Scrapper.
4s are so precious these days because most of them are hot garbage, and she is not. She's excellent. So I throw her another 7.
Ooh, Parker.
It's funny you mentioned that because normally the overall doesn't have anything to do with the other numbers really, but I think this one does. I think she is a 7 actually too. I was going to say a 7. I think she feels like a really premium model.
I think she's got all the right tools right where she needs them. I think 7 is totally fine.
Same.
I like how Aaron gives hand signals on an audio podcast, and he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You have to."
Very
you have to say a
useful.
number."
I said same.
That's true. He did. All right, Aaron, it's your choice. Who do you want to rate next that we haven't rated yet?
Oh, Rasputin. I want Rasputin.
Oh, Quicksilver.
No.
Oh, who?
Pyotr.
Oh, Colossus.
There you go.
Yeah.
My boy Colossus.
Oh,
With how my screen's set up, I can't see the character name. I can only see the alter ego. I'm like, who the fuck is Rasputin? All right. So Aaron, give me an argument as to why Colossus has good offense.
So I think Colossus is maligned. I think he's better than people give him credit for.
I completely agree.
From an offensive standpoint, his not slam is a stun and a stagger, which is a wild on 7 dice. I forget the odds, but it's over 50%. So for 3
Yes, it
power,
is.
you're stunning and staggering. Yes, please. Other than that, it's just got a generic 5 dice builder.
It has concussive force, sir.
You're right. It's still a generic 5 dice builder with a splash, whatever random rule you want to add to it. So for 3 power, 7 dice, stun stagger, his offensive output is average.
I do want to point out that he came out at a very unfortunate time. Luke Cage was literally dominating the meta when they spoiled this guy. And so everybody just said, why come 4-point Luke Cage? And just never read his card. And it was really unfortunate for him. I actually think he's a very solid 4-pointer. I don't know that he makes the cut of like the elites that you can really talk about. And that's actually a podcast topic I want to make someday. Like, which 4-pointers should you not throw in the garbage? Like, which ones are really worth consideration? Because I think it's a very short list.
I would love to talk to someone who's played Colossus for 20 games and have them tell me that he's trash.
Yeah.
As opposed to
I
everyone
only played him.
Yeah.
I only played him like 4 games. I'm like, this guy's got something. Like, this guy does not fall down, like, ever. All right. So offense, Jeremy, give me a number.
5.
Okay. Parker? I didn't hear you. What'd you say?
I was actually going to say a 4, I think. That's what I'm going to say.
I think being able to throw size 3 terrain puts him to at least a 5.
Okay.
I
Aaron?
concur. Stun, stagger, and a throw for the terrain.
Well, stun and stagger control, not offense, but yeah.
Okay.
He's got a reasonable spender for damage output, and he's got a throw. He can't really be below 5, I think. Moving on to defense. Well, they say the best offense is a good defense. That's what they say, right?
Sure. If you believe
Okay.
that, have I got something to sell you?
I got some shit to tell you about what this guy does then. So I did not realize, what was it? He adds 2 dice to his defense rolls when he's on his front side.
Yep.
He also gets damage reduction. He's immune to bleed. He's 4/3/3. On the back side, he gets to add blanks instead. So he basically he's Captain America on the front, and on the back he's Captain America without the shield. Which is Captain America having these stats would not be okay either. Like if Captain America had 13 health, that'd be fucked. So yeah. Jeremy, give me a defensive number for this guy.
6.
How dare you?
He needs power to do this shit. Where's he getting it?
He has bodyguard,
Okay, he spent to do bodyguard, and then he spends for
and then he
shield.
takes the hit. So if you don't have power to, if your argument is I don't have power to spend on Boy because I haven't taken any damage, that's not his fault. Like he's doing his job well.
So his DR doesn't cost, and Beaujolais on the back turns into
It's a
an
passive,
infinite
yeah.
superpower. So
Innate, yeah.
6.
well,
Parker, go. We're waiting on you.
I was going to say an 8. I think he's an 8. I think that's what he does.
Ooh.
Defensive is what he is. 8.
It's definitely what he does.
I concur with Parker. It's an 8.
Yeah, it has to be higher than Rogue, so it's an 8. So 8 on defense. Moving on to support. He's got bodyguard, which is good.
Like,
Is that
really,
enough support?
really good.
It's a really good bodyguard given the situation. He tends to play with characters that like bodyguard over taunt. So, Jeremy, what do you think his support is? I don't know if we've ever clarified specifically what bodyguard is worth. I think we've said like 3 in the past. I'm looking through our old ratings. We gave Okoye a 4. And I'm pretty sure the only support she has is bodyguard.
4.
Anybody against a 4?
Nope.
Okay, 4 it is. Moving on to control. This is going to be a hot topic. So really, the key here is concussive force, right? That's his best ability.
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at that a while, trying to break that. Yeah.
Trying to break it up.
Yeah.
I just need to combine him with Cyclops, and we're good.
Did it.
Yeah, it's a flat 0. Well,
What are you talking? He's got stagger and
yeah.
stun.
Now that you're saying those are okay.
Can he be like a 2 for stagger and stun on his spender? It
I
seems
think
like a 2.
anyone that staggers fairly reliably is at least a 3.
Okay, I'll buy it.
Auto stun as well. Yeah, this guy's got to be at least a 3. Now, admittedly, it kind of ends there, so I think 3 is probably fine. That my vote's for 3 at least.
3.
Sure,
I'm with
3.
you. 3 as well.
3 it is. Moving on to class. This guy is clearly a defender. His whole job is keep his team alive.
Yep.
Jeremy, give us your mouthfeel on the 5'8", 4'3" defender.
Don't start with Jeremy.
He goes first. That's
I know.
the
Well, I'm just saying-
he is literally first.
Okay, I just have a feeling. You know what?
He's like 1.
Yeah,
He's
I
worse
know what
than
Jeremy would say.
Wolverine.
Jeremy, if he could give a 0, he would give a 0 to this motherfucker.
That's your job, Parker. Is just to
You
overcompensate
gotta
his
fix it.
negativity
Okay.
afterwards to offset the.
I'm going to put him with the rest of the pile of 4s, and I'll put him at a 5. I'll give him that.
Parker.
Overall math for Colossus, I'm going to say a 4.
Wow! After all of that, you
Jesus
rated him
Christ.
lower than Jeremy.
Yeah.
I know. Look at this.
I don't think
Um,
I don't think he sees the table very much, and I don't know if that's good. But I don't
Okay.
I don't think there's any amount of I don't know who would need to play this guy before everybody. Was
Okay,
pulled
yeah,
out.
I got you. We need to speed up though. So I think I'm going to give him a 5. I think he is on the upper echelon of 4s, but I don't know if he breaks into the top tier. It's hard to justify 4 points on a bodyguard, but he is good.
So I would give him 5 to 6 because I'm not comparing him to other 4s. I'm comparing him to every model in the game.
That's fair. There's a lot of bad 4s though. There's a lot of 4s I wouldn't spend 3 points on.
Colossus
Alright.
is not one of them. He'd be broken at
Not one that I would gladly spend 4 points on Colossus if it was what my list needed.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on, we're back to Jeremy. You get to pick the next one up. We have either Wanda or Pietro.
I like them both a lot.
Just pick one.
Quicksilver, go.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have arguments to make about his offense?
God. It's so good when people play him against me, but when I use him, it's dog shit.
I get that story a lot from you. You're like, yeah, my opponent played this character and they completely wrecked me. I played him and it's hot garbage. Like, I feel like
No,
that's
not,
just a you problem.
No.
I
All right,
don't think you can find a generic character with worse offensive output.
What? Really?
As a 3
He
threat,
has a 2-cost 6-die attack that's range 3, and he gets to advance medium when he uses it.
but
It's
that's
so
not off.
good.
Take away the advance, and how good is it?
Still very good.
Mm.
He is an above average spender, admit it. Do you know how many garbage spenders there are in the game that don't get used? Like, he has a legitimately good spender. Now, admittedly, I think his basic strike, fairly mediocre. It looks cute, it can do weird shit, but you can't ever rely on it for anything, so I understand that logic.
Is there any spender in the game less than 6?
Yeah. There's 4s.
What?
Yeah, there are 4s. Yeah,
There are 4s.
there are 4 spenders. Yeah,
And it's range 3, and it's action economy. Like, oh man, he's solid.
So I'm not saying Quicksilver isn't solid. I'm saying his offensive output is garbage.
I think his offensive output is underrated in a similar way as the Juggernauts tends to be sometimes, because he's always in range with whatever he wants. It's the threat range component combined with his normal offense, because you can apply that 6 dice spender to almost the entire fucking board at will, because he's so fast.
yeah. I was going to say that also velocity is just a wild and a hit. So you might just get two attacks.
I think I've chained 4 attacks off of 1 action before. It was my maximum, because it doesn't say it can't be a previous target, so you can chain off of 2 people back and forth infinitely if you keep rolling.
Yeah,
it just says not off the original target of this attack, which is the current attack.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive output is a 4.
Okay, Parker.
I was going to say a 4 also. I also value the spender.
I'm going to argue for a 5 because his attack actions are more efficient, or his actions throughout the entire game are more efficient than other people's. Like, if you take an average character, we talked about probably makes 4 to 6 attacks in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Quicksilver can easily get to 8, probably 10 if you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really my argument. It's that his opportunities are so much higher. Just like a rapid fire model, it's the same argument. He's going to make more attacks throughout a game. There's more opportunities for your opponent to blank out. And this isn't even assuming he's not going to trigger velocity a couple times.
I still give him a 3.
All right, so he gets a 4. Moving on. Wow, you hate Quicksilver. Defense. Jeremy, give me a defense.
Ooh, defense is really good.
Yeah, we have effectively Spider Senses and Trickster.
7.
Ooh, that's a spicy 7.
Mm-hmm.
Parker?
I actually really like a 7 as well, because he has abilities that just cancel damage. Just canceling damage is so much better than DR. Eliminating opportunity is...
It's one of the few things will actually stop rapid fire, because it triggers on targeting, not on after resolve.
Also, he gets the reroll on dodge.
Yeah.
Not everybody gets that.
Yeah, I think 7 feels a bit high, but man, if you trigger the Can't Catch Me at the right time, it is backbreaking. I'm fine with a 7.
I would go down to a 6. Again, if Rogue is a 7 and she's more health, DR, and 4 physical, I don't know. I don't think he's at her level.
Well, he can also like run away from problems a lot, like so he's not in range of the really scary stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah, I've been in a lot of activations with him so far away from people that they only had 1 attack to do, and he had Can't Catch Me ready. So it was just like, oh.
You can make it if you don't need him for contesting purposes, you can just make it to where they'll never see him again. But that's not really the intent here. I think 6 is a fair argument. I think 7 is a bit ambitious.
Well, 6.5 rounds up to 7.
Yeah. So even if I come down, we're still getting to a 7. So moving on, support. He doesn't support, so he gets a 1. Control, he has no control.
Does stealing count as control?
I don't know we've ever really put a value on that. Let's look at what Enchantress had. Did we rate Enchantress?
Well, she would have a weird control because she actually also has control effects.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, Miles. Miles has other control effects too. Head Warriors.
So we just need to do it right now. How much is How much is stealing worth in terms of control?
Yeah, I just want to be consistent. Is why I'm double checking.
His stealing?
So
0.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, that card's really not getting played that much anymore. Also, we were playing it wrong for a decent bit, so that's not great either. And people don't tend to play the single extracts for that exact reason. I mean,
stealing extracts, I would think would be a 2-point swing, being that why do you control other models so you can win the game?
Well, it also depends, like the ability to steal, right? Like Black Cat's costing 3 for no action would be noticeably better than Enchantress's cost 3 for an action.
Mm-hmm.
So that would play into it as well. The question is, does it fall into the realm of control, or does it just fall into overall rating? I think we need to put it in either like control or support. I would argue that it helps your team, so it would be fine as a support option, but we just need to decide where it's going to go. So I'm going to vote that, let's see, support control.
I think it should be a control because control effects are done to your opponent, and support effects are ones you get to dictate yourself with your own position in army.
Yeah, that's a fair argument. My argument was going to be that it benefits your team exclusively, so it'd be good for you, so it'd be support. But I think control, because it comes from the enemy model, I think is an important point.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's put it on control.
I just want to.
Because control is kind of just like your ability to impose your will on the game in general. Does anyone against that, putting stealing effects on control?
Seems fine.
So we're all good with Quicksilver being a 1?
Because he doesn't get any points for the fact that he does have a control effect. He can steal the card.
I think it'd be fine if we brought him up to a 2, if you think that's important.
I was going to say
Sure.
2 because it's so conditional on having a tactic slot and a damage and stuff. I think it's a 2. But he can do it. That's worth a point.
Yeah, that's fair. So it brings him up to a 2. It used to be the primary reason he got taken, and then it kind of fell off when Black Cat got printed, and they were just like, fuck that guy. I find that really annoying. It felt like they really just invalidated him out of nowhere, because they're both speed-long 3-pointers that steal objectives. I was like, okay.
And move themselves with powers. Speaking of that, overall rating. Go.
Yeah. Jeremy, you're up.
6.
Parker?
I was going to say 4 because Black Cat exists.
You son of a bitch.
Wow.
If Black Cat gets nerfed, he becomes a 6. That's my opinion.
Write it in pencil.
Yeah, but him not getting taken because there's a better option in his slot doesn't mean that he's bad. Like, we're still rating him.
Well, when you compare, we've talked about comparing him to models in the game, right? Like, he doesn't do as much damage as damage dealers. He doesn't like what he's supposed to.
But like, there being a better option doesn't push his kit down. His kit has the value it has. There's just a more valuable option.
Right. But even the value that this one has is still conditional. A couple conditionals, right?
Right, but I mean, so I guess I'm looking at this from a very different perspective than you are, I guess, and I think we should all look at it from the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, like, what's a good example here? Bucky existing should not make Punisher worse, right? Bucky will be rated on the scale that he exists at, and then Punisher will be rated at the scale he exists at. And the fact that Bucky is now better than Punisher doesn't change Punisher's rating, or else we would have to literally change every rating every time anything came out.
I hear you.
So we need to rate him in a vacuum on a bell curve. And the fact that Black Cat exists does not lower his numbers. Black Cat's numbers will just be higher.
Okay. I still think he feels... I did say
you can give him a 4. That's fine. I'm just making sure you're giving him a 4 for the same reason I'm giving him
I think I'm going to give him a
number.
6 for his mobility. I'm going to give him a 6.
Okay. I'm also going to vote 6.
I liked Parker's original. It's a 4.
4. Ooh, does that bring it down?
No, it's
5.5.
I tried.
6 it is. All right, last one up. Let's go and blaze through this. We have the Scarlet Witch. So this should be easy. Jeremy, make an argument as to why we would play her for offense.
10.
She kills stuff real good.
She hits like a fucking truck.
The weird fact that she doesn't have dice mods but has dice fixing is so cool. Yeah, I think Scarlet Witch is hugely underutilized, and there's obvious reasons why she is. She's very static model, has no mobility or no action economy, and so that's a problem.
Yep.
But man, she's scary. I think I'm going to give her a try in Convocation, see if I like her there. All right, Jeremy, do you have you gave 10 already?
Yeah, I'm just saying 10.
I wanted to say
right.
one hot take. If you like Corvus Glaive, then you'll also like her. They're very similar in the way that they work. Like, they're going to just... You're like, I don't need to reroll the dice. My dice will just be strong. I'll just do the damage. And she also has the throw, which if you don't do the damage, then she'll throw things. So I think she's also a 10.
I remember when Cruel Twist came out, we were like, holy shit, this does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to give her a 9, just because if she doesn't have any dice mods, I understand she has good dice math, but that doesn't mean she has mods. She doesn't get to look at as many dice as a person with rerolls does, and that's the only reason I'm not giving her a 10. Also, I think the non-action economy is important. Aaron?
I'm thinking how important range 4 Mystic 6 dice spender with chaos magic and Chosen of Cthulhu. Is it worth a 10? I'll stay 9 for now. It's really, really, really good.
Parker, did you say 10 or 9?
I said 10.
You son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 10 it is. We're rounding up to a 10. In protest, I don't think she's quite as good as the other 10s, but man, she's good. Defense. I think this is going to be a point of high contention. Jeremy?
6.
Parker?
I was actually going to say 5.
I'm going to say 6 as well. The change on the dice math to a 50% success rate on defense dice is pretty big. She has above average dice and hit points anyway. I think she's noticeably above average. Not hugely, but noticeably.
I think the fact that she rolls 3 dice against the most common damage type is the one thing that in 6 health on both sides for her cost. I think she feels a little flimsy. But the fact that she does have the 50%, I think, is what brings her up to the 5.
Mm-hmm.
So she feels flimsy because she's a 5 threat, which she is. But you put that defensive stats on a 3 threat, you'd be like, oh my god, so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
because the fact is she would already be a 5 just with her stat line. And then you have the skulls on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
The skulls is why I put it there. Absolutely. Yeah. Her dice are crazy.
Yep. I'm with you guys.
So 6s have it. Moving on to support. I don't think she has any.
Her card can heal one.
Oh yeah. Oh, I love her Whims of Chaos card.
Whims of
Chaos. I don't think anybody else does.
No, I think Whims of Chaos is fucking amazing. I love Whims of Chaos.
So it's Scarlet Witch may spend any number of power. Choose one non-dazed character within 3 of Scarlet Witch for each power spent, and each chosen ally removes 1 damage or 1 special condition, and each chosen enemy suffers one of the following special conditions: Hex, Root, and Incinerate. So you can just like surprise your Hex and Incinerated, or Hex or Incinerated to like 2 people, and then just kill them both. It's so amazing. It's not even like during her action. It's so good.
Well, that's not support. The support part is the Healy part, so that's why.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think that's super relevant. I don't think.
Can she get like a 2 for that because she can do it?
Sure, I'm fine with that. Anybody against a 2?
It's fine.
Which is better than the worst in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Control though. Oh boy.
Yeah, she's got a bunch of control.
So just like we just said, the Tactics card is pretty cool. You just apply one of those 3 effects to anyone. Then we also have No More Mutants, which just straight up cancels a superpower. Oh my god, so good.
That they spend.
It's exactly shush.
Yeah.
Exactly verbatim shush, which is amazing. It's worth playing a character sometimes to get that on the board at the right time. It's like, oh, Thanos is gonna cosmic shut up! Like, get out of here. I'm done with your crap. It's so good. And then following that up, she also just has great control effects anyway. She can judge anyone who damages her. She can
one of 2
apply...
one of 2 characters in the games that can judge. That's not nothing.
I thought there was 2. Was there only the 2? I thought there was more than that.
No, I'm pretty sure there's only the 2.
Okay, cool. She can apply Bleed, Hex, Poison, and Incinerate on her basic, and then she can obviously judge people.
Also, within 3, they can't remove some of them.
I was actually going to bring that up. I don't think it's ever mattered because nobody remembers she has it.
Yeah.
But actually, this is a pretty big gotcha because I'm pretty sure you perform the shake action and then decide which token to remove. And so at the point they realize they can't remove it, they've already spent the action. And I'm pretty sure a hard ass would just say, you can't go back, you need to shake something. And so if you choose one of these effects, you just fail your action. And so that's going to be a negative play experience at some point. I know it.
Are you sure you haven't just created an impossible game state where you declared an action that's impossible because you can't shake?
Created an impossible burger.
That's right.
I just had one of
pretty
those
sure
today.
that the
They're
action
fantastic.
just fizzles because you spent the cost and the effect has no effect because it fails.
Okay. Well, it's like me declaring
least-
an attack action against someone that's not in range. Like, I can't do it. It's illegal.
Well, there's rules that say what happens when that happens.
I know. I'm just.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm being
You're just
obstinate.
being obstinate.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what I thought. All right. So control. Give me a number, Jeremy.
6.
Parker.
For the really consistent hexes and incinerates, I would say a 6 as well.
I'm gonna say 8. I think she's probably a 6 with everything else, but I think No More Mutants puts her to an 8.
Oh, I
and
wasn't thinking about that.
And Whims,
8.
yeah, 8.
Forgot.
I
That
forgot
was
that.
easy.
I forgot. I was totally just thinking about a card, not whims and. No
You're like,
Mutants.
man, that's a really high number, you psychopath.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, it's one of the most impactful control effects in the entire game is whims and shush. Or sorry, No More Mutants and shush. Can literally turn a game on its head, and Parker knows this as well as anybody.
Shut up.
Or
Aaron?
he doesn't.
Well, I was gonna say 4, but clearly I'm not looking at the same model you guys are.
We're counting in the tactics cards. I think No More Mutants has a pretty substantial control effect on the board.
I'll give
It
you that.
influences the game.
But so if you take that away, right? Without
Sure.
that, you guys are saying she's a 6 without it, and I'm
I
comparing
think
that to
if we're counting
people on the
her
above.
card,
Go ahead.
good.
So without the card, comparing her to people who are going to control the opponent and the game board with throws or action economy, stealing power. I don't know. I mean, Hex is great, but it's really just all oriented towards damage.
Well, she
So her
controls
builder
you because you're now
gives
dead.
her. Yeah, she is the best debuff in the game. Yeah.
Sure, but that's
no,
why
I
she's a 10 on attack.
I understand. And so the issue is that she has a range 4 6 dice builder that has, for each skull, apply one of the following effects.
Oh,
So she puts out a lot of debuffs on her own. Then she can also judge anyone who damages her, not just attacks her, but damages her. I think that puts her to a 6. That's now, admittedly, it's not board control, it's control in general. So she's not moving people around, and I get that, and we can say that moving people is more important than debuffing them, but she still has control effects. Then we move into Whims of Chaos, being able to put up negative effects on enemies without her even activating, and then on top of that we have No More Mutants. Who else does debuffs and canceling actions that well? The answer is nobody. And
not
so
arguing with you there.
the question then, is it as valuable as board control? Probably not per instance. Like, obviously every debuff isn't as good as moving somebody. But eventually, like, when you've put up like 14 debuffs in a game, yeah, it might be.
And this is about control, not overall mouthfeel, right? So
And it's
Okay.
primarily, this is primarily just arguing that No More Mutants being leveraged against the right model can literally swing a game.
Well, I'll go with 7 just so I can be lower than you.
Okay. Jeremy, Parker, did you both go up to an 8?
yes,
I'm happy with an 8. I
with
mean,
the whole hog as hard as I can hog.
you went,
The whole hog. Okay.
you cooked the whole hog. I knew you
Yeah.
would.
Okay. So is she a blaster or a controller?
Blast.
Blast.
Blaster, I agree. All right. Jeremy, overall mouthfeel on the most scarlet of witches.
I love 5s. I'm gonna go with an 8.
I love 5s. I'm going to go with an 8.
I love 5s.
I didn't
Five
realize
threats
what you
my
were saying
favorite.
until you were done.
Yeah.
Okay. Parker?
When she has the funny thing is she is an amazing like laser beam turret, but she is just a turret and she's so fixed. You've got to put her in the right affiliation. So 7, I think, because she needs the affiliation so bad. I think 7.
This is why I didn't want to give her a 10 on damage, because I don't think she's a 10 on damage because she doesn't have the action economy or the mobility to get in range consistently enough to apply her damage. But that's for the same reason I'm going to agree with Parker. I'm giving her a 7. Without the proper support, which she does not bring on her own, she cannot fulfill her full potential. So unless you build a list around her, she's a 7.
I concur. It's a 7.
All right, the 7s have it. And just like that, we rated all of Brotherhood.
God damn.
So we have Juggernaut at an 8, Moitimer Toynbee at a 6. We got Scarlet Witch at a 7, Quicksilver at a 6, Magneto at an 8, Mystique at a 4, which we should probably revisit, but I don't think we really respected Deception at the time.
Or Rapid Fire.
She's kind of weird when it comes to rapid fire. She doesn't really want to stand at rapid fire range because she doesn't. It's like she's the weakest at range 3 because you're inside stealth and outside martial arts, so it's really annoying. But it's just something. Sabretooth we gave an 8 to, which is not aged well. I think in today's meta we would give him like a 5 or a 6. 5 for Colossus, 3 for Gambit, and then 7 for Rogue. I feel pretty good about most of these. Some of the older ones that we should definitely go back and retouch.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, that was our ratings for today. Hopefully you guys had a good time. Parker, do you know what you get when you cross a cow and a chicken? You get roost beef. Got him. Boom roasted. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Hopefully you guys had a good time.
Oh my
Just mic
God.
drop that. Jeremy's like, I hate being on this podcast. All right. Well, this has been Brandon.
And Dr. Brandis Toboggan MD.
Jeremy.
And Aaron.
And you've just listened to The Gang Brothers, The Hood.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
Yay, we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Finally.
All right. And now we get to determine if I have to go through and edit Aaron's sound for some other reason again this time.
You didn't last week. That's all I'm saying.
That's true. I didn't have to excessively last week. In 3 weeks, I spent an hour and 20 minutes editing just Aaron's audio tracks.
Oh man.
And less than 10 minutes of it was last week.
Yeah,
You'd have
still
told me
get-
to set the microphone to 0.9 earlier. Could have solved it all.
Yeah, that would have helped. His microphone was so sensitive it was picking up his own headphones.
Oh my
It's the
God.
dumbest problem I've ever had to edit out of a track.
Oh, weird.
I don't know why. It's because we all got used to these same problems a year and a half ago. And
Yeah.
I didn't even consider to tell you about these problems because it's such like a distant past.
hmm
Well, knock on wood, fixed now.
Although I feel don't eat Chex Mix on the podcast is should have been a pretty fucking obvious one.
Maybe for you, buddy. Maybe for you.
Yeah, maybe for professionals like us, right?
I was hungry.
Yeah. At least it was majority after the podcast was over. We were just pre-rambling and post-rambling.
Mm.
I don't know how I missed it. Yeah, Aaron's sitting there on Discord in camera, just throwing Chex Mix in his mouth and just laughing his ass off. I'm like, how did I not notice what was happening? I was so distracted. Oh, it was bad. It was a bad day. Okay, so now let's talk about the forum stuff, and we can get past it. So for people listening at home, we did misread the Oscorp weaponry thread. In my defense, I think choosing Dr. Octopus as both character examples was a poor decision, but that's on us. So when we said they directly contradict each other last week, we were a little off. The rulings in the thread are fairly consistent. The problem is that we were viewing them through the goggles of we were really using them as an example to understand another ruling in the game, and that's kind of on us for using it for something other than specifically what this thread was for. We were looking into things like the character rolling the die is the one that's resolving the effect. Right, what's a better way to word this? Is the ruling that AMG gave, which was whenever you're rolling a die for a character, that character is considered to be rolling the die. That's where we came into this thread from. And so we got on a train of, is Venom going to be able to use Oscorp weaponry? Because if you're rolling a defense die for a character, that character's rolling the dice. Therefore, Venom would not be allowed to use Oscorp weaponry, even though he's a spider foe. So yeah, the ruling here is... if Mysterio or Green Goblin reroll an enemy defense die, are they the ones rolling the dice for resolving their own power-gaining abilities, Scientific Hubris and Grand Illusion or Master of Illusions? The first answer was no, because they have to be rolling their own dice, which is consistent with the AMG ruling, so that's good. And then the second one is, if an enemy Doc Ock rolls a single critical during a defense roll, and then Oscorp weaponry is used to reroll that die, will the enemy Doc Ock, also known as the Defender, get power for it? And the answer is yes, which is consistent with the AMG ruling, but I think a little confusing because in the example above, both characters were Doc Ock. So that's fine. I do agree this is kind of ambiguous in a couple different areas, but it's mainly Aaron asked the question, and he explained it last week. this is a little confusing, just clarifying some other abilities that are very similar. And he asks about the Venom thing and some other stuff. And the response we got was also from Theros. I think that's how you say the moderator's name. It is the attacker who is re-rolling the die in the case of Oscorp weaponry, but that doesn't prevent the defender from benefiting from the rule. So I'm fine with the scientific hubris works when people mod your defense dice. I think that's well in line with everything else. I don't understand, though, why Venom is allowed to re-roll the defender's die. And I don't think that makes sense logically.
So I'm opposite from you. I am okay.
So you think he should be able to roll the die, but you shouldn't get power?
Sure,
for
because
it.
Venom is the one modifying the die. But in that case,
and that's
Venom
the way
rolls
we
it,
played it, yeah.
and the wording on Doc Ock and everyone else's trigger card is if they roll the die. Not
Yes.
if at the end of the dice rolling phase, there is a crit or a skull in your dice pool. That's not
And
what the
this is
card
why-
says. But that is...
I agree with that completely. That's why rules is written. We've been playing it basically the way you just described for over a year now. The issue that came up was when we found the AMG forum post saying when you roll a die for a character, that character is rolling the die. That's when we got this muddied water where we was like, okay, well, everything we know about modding defense dice is backwards now. And so Venom shouldn't be allowed to reroll people's die. And I don't think that should be the case. I think Venom should be allowed to reroll people's dice. But with the ruling we had, I think it makes sense that he can't. Jeremy and Parker look so bored. They so don't care.
Well, you guys have talked about this before, and I honestly, to me, it's one of those, like, I dare someone to bring this up during a real game.
Yeah, I mean that's really the problem here. Is like it's at the point in our community, at least. I don't know how many other communities are like this. People hate the rules for them because all it does is make them not have fun in their games. Because the only people that ever reference it are people that go there on a regular basis. And anyone you're playing games with, it's like, this is obviously how this interaction. Like if I told you I'm going to use Oscorp weaponry to re-roll an enemy character's defense die, and then you go, yeah, obviously, and your opponent goes, no, you can't do that because there's this online ruling that says by AMG official, when rolling dice for characters, that character's rolling the dice. So even though you're using the ability to make me re-roll, I'm re-rolling it. And I don't know that there's really an argument to stop that until this got posted on July 7th. And all it says is, no, you're wrong, basically. It doesn't even explain the logic behind it. It just says, nope, even though there's black and white, like, a ruling saying that whenever you're rolling, it's the other person. It's the owner that's rolling it, basically. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And so it just feels like a lot of, like, gotcha rules that are not what are on the cards. And that's why a lot of people find it frustrating. Because also a lot of the rulings go by probably the letter of the rule, but not what people would consider to be the intention of the rule a lot of the time.
For example,
It just
Thunderwave beam damage on
Exactly.
Captain America. I guarantee not the intent
Yeah.
of the game designers. So I just want to say real quick, in case there's any heartache from last week, I don't dislike the forum moderators at all. I think they're great people. I have issue with the rules that they've been given and some of the interactions that weren't really well thought out. For instance, Captain America taking damage for Thunderwave. But they're forced to be like, yep, he takes a damage, because that's clearly what the rules, as written, force them to say. So
That's a
I really
perfect
wish the
example.
game designers would be a little more clear and meticulous with how they word abilities and rules to put the people like Thoras and Nagoldar in better positions to make good rulings based on common sense instead of, well, it's got to be this way. So I have no issue with the actual mods. I think they're all great. I just wish the game designers would be a little more meticulous.
Yeah, I just don't like the forums in general, because I've never been a fan of forums as like a place to go and find rules. It's very difficult to find specific rulings unless you already know where to look for them. And so if you're looking, especially because sometimes things get referenced in other, like for example, if you're looking for the Can Venom reroll with Oscorp, like it's buried in this thing that isn't even mentioned. And part of that's our fault because we didn't create a separate thread. But like it's a mess to try and find stuff sometimes. I've never liked forums. They're really annoying to like interact with in general. I've never had good luck with the search functions. But I don't have anything against the people on the forums.
I think maybe the use of the forum should be more in the lines of, I played a game, I need a yes or a no on this, not a, I'm trying to decipher intent and
Yeah.
no, just give me a yes or a no and let's move on, and then later on they can clarify it later. You know what I mean? Like things that are very, very unclear and murky. Yeah, you're gonna need give me all the steps that you came to that conclusion, because I can't just decide, hey, okay, I guess you're right. Well, why? I'm smart too, guys. Like, you know, I mean, we're all smart. Like, let's walk through this.
Yeah, I don't know how many times, like, in the history of the game someone has played Thunderwave, but I'm willing to bet a very small percentage of them dealt the damage to Captain America. And then anyone you sat down in a room with were like, well, this is the understanding of why. Like, he's not the attacker and he's under the template, and there's no way around that. That's just geometry. And then you go, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But if you just tell them, oh, Captain America is now dazed because you used Thunderwave, it's like, that's never going to end well. Like, that's never going to result in two players having fun playing a game.
Mhm.
And because it's not in the FAQ or the errata, that's hidden somewhere on a forum you have to make an account to see, no one's ever going to go looking for it. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So it feels like it's just gotcha mechanics everywhere in the game, and that aren't even part of the official rules. Like, they're not.
Yeah.
Right? Like, nowhere in the rulebook says, go to the rules forum, read every post in the rules forum so you can play our game. Like, that doesn't exist. So it's just frustrating. I wish that it was more integrated into the rulebook, and I wish we had a better way of getting feedback from a lot of this stuff. Yeah, so I guess last week when I was very verbal about hating the forums, I hate the idea of the forums, and I hate the functionality of it. I don't hate, like, people on the forums. And I think that, and I know this from being a community organizer for a long time, the moderators are definitely not getting paid 1/10 of what they're worth in their time investment. So that's not a question here. Like, the people on the forums that are actively trying to help people are clearly doing God's work. It's like a fucking charity. So, because I've dealt with this shit for a long time. Oh boy. I'm still annoyed by this ruling. the Venom thing. I don't understand at all how that makes any sense.
Just like many things in life, you need an accept button on your forehead. You just click it.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but I'm going to accept it.
I mean, I'm happy. The frustrating part is, I think that's the correct choice, but you can't ask me to rules as written all the other rulings, and then just because I said so on this one, it doesn't make sense.
Again, the accept button, man.
Yeah. Just, like, fucking glaze my eyes over and stop paying attention. Hope everything works out well.
Yeah, it's like marriage.
Yeah. Not getting married. I'm a prime candidate.
No comment.
Mm-hmm. Compromise is my middle name. Jeremy doesn't look very happy about that statement. All right, so let's see here.
So, just a basic rating. No spoilers, no nothing. I will tell you.
You're gonna talk about the movie? Don't talk about the movie yet. We'll do that in the post ramble.
What? I'm not gonna sit up for fucking 2 a.m. with y'all. What are you talking about?
No, we're not gonna. We don't have to go deep into it or anything. But, like,
I'm not going deep. I just wanted to give a rating.
That will go, because when we announce the spoilers that we're doing spoilers for Thor, we'll do all that together. It'll be fine.
Why we got to do spoilers?
Because I like to give people who don't want to hear spoilers a notification that from this point on, we will be talking about Thor and only Thor, and turn off the podcast if you don't want to hear about it. And we'll do that later.
Jesus Christ.
Because then they have to, like, navigate through the what's Thor, what's not stuff, and that's annoying.
I don't think we have a listener population that's just looking for Thor information.
Admittedly, probably 95% of our audience has already seen the movie, but I like to be respectful. Some people are busy.
Since when did you start respecting people in anything?
I respect people in a lot of ways. It's just not in emotional ways.
Just not in any sort of social environment and or
I
public.
expect people to not give a shit what other people think about as much as I do, which is a lot, and then I expect them to functionally respect me in ways that are not intrusive to my wants.
Fair enough.
Anyway, moving on. So, spoilers on other things. No.
If you talk about Doctor Strange again, I'll kill you.
Which Doctor Strange? What are you talking about? Oh.
No, it's just...
We talk about Show Me. Show Me happened. Do we want to talk about that on the cast?
I would think that would be a part of the podcast.
Okay. It's fairly uneventful. It was just a nice little tournament.
I have tons to say, but I'm only going to say about 1/10.
Oh god.
Wow.
That's probably best for kept off the podcast, Jeremy.
I know we're recording, so that's what I'm telling you. I'm just saying. Just saying.
I'm going to have to make so many timestamps.
Had a great time.
Okay.
Good time had by most.
We talk about how tiebreakers should just be done away with, and they should just have tiers of victory.
That's just an event issue. That's not like a Marvel issue, but
I know.
I'm not for or against that.
I don't know why, like these events like that. I really like the idea of an A flight and a B flight. Just break it into two different ones.
A flight and B, like you mean casual and competitive groups?
No, if you take a loss, you're in B flight. If you haven't taken a loss, you're in A flight. Like you have two different ones.
What do you mean by flights?
I can explain in multiple ways why that doesn't work, but I respect your opinion. I think that's not a bad thing to want. It just functionally it doesn't work.
I don't know about that.
You can design an event in which it works that way, but it's got a lot of restrictions on it.
I think it keeps people interested after the first loss and doesn't make you it doesn't create douchebags after one loss. Like it's a whole different. And also I've heard of tournaments that, and it was even a Marvel tournament that had it where it was basically the number one in B flight played number one and A flight ended up winning. Because
so you're basically calling it double elimination?
Kind of. I guess that might be what it is. But you have the person with 0 losses ends up playing the person with 1, and then the 1 ends up knocking you have the 2 champions basically of their brackets. Does that make sense?
But they're all playing in the same tournament.
Yeah.
They're just so the issue that comes up from that specifically is, let's say you've got 14 players. Round 1, you have 7 undefeated, 7 X and 1s.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 buys in the second round.
Yeah, I don't think this is a tournament style that you would play for any less than, say, 24, maybe 36. I don't know. I think that would have to be a bigger.
That happens at every. I don't know the term for the numbers, but double odd numbers, basically.
Yeah.
So in a double elimination, that is kind of what happens. Is you basically play until everyone has 2 losses. So if you get to the finals and both people left are undefeated, you play effectively a best of 3. And if at the end the undefeated person plays an X and 1, he only has to win 1. He basically has a bye in a best of 3, but the problem is you end up adding, I think it's like 2 or 3 rounds depending on the size of the tournament. So if you had an 8-person double elimination, I think it ends up being like 5 rounds, and then I think it's 16 ends up being 6 rounds.
I just think there's something to the idea of, especially in this game, because there's just such weird swings sometimes, to be able to to keep yourself involved.
I guess my question is, what is the advantage of calling the people who have lost a game a separate flight? Like, what's the mechanical difference?
First, second, and third in 2 flights.
First, second, and third in 2 flights. So you're like the best X in 1.
Yeah.
And then the best X in 2.
Something like that.
Because wouldn't the person who got third just be the second best X in 1?
I guess if they're not playing in that side of the room, like it's immediately divided up. You got your winners and losers, then you got your losers bracket, which is all the people that have lost. Then you've got your winners bracket, or all the people that win. So they fight for that, and the other side's fighting for the other side. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so let's say we start with 24 players.
Mm-hmm.
After the first round, we've got 12 X and 1s and 12 1 and X's. We split them into 2 separate events at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can never play each other. And so then we'll have a champion of each pot of 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
I'm okay there. The third one confuses me, the third split. But so what happens when a person in the undefeated bracket loses at that point? Do they still move to the second bracket? Do they stay in the first bracket?
I think you stay in the first. I don't remember how that breaks down
So
exactly.
they just, from the first round on, they're infinite pods of 12 that stay that way forever.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. How and what is this preventing by doing this?
It keeps the losers still playing for like their token or whatever. You can still win.
So you're just saying you want there to be some benefit to playing
Yeah.
once you've lost a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many
Well,
times I line up
I
against the
think
guy
that's-
who's lost one, and they're just all, I'm just doing it for fun now. Blah, blah, blah.
So my answer is, why weren't you doing it for fun to begin with?
Yeah, I
mean,
think that's
Whether
Hey,
it's
you
Blood
want to
Bowl-
talk about, are we
that's
jumping
what
into Show Me?
non-sociopaths
We can
say,
talk to
but
about that
whatever.
now. Is that what we're talking about? Show Me?
What are we talking about? Oh, I know what we're talking
I'm not
about.
going there. Don't worry
Okay.
about it.
Why are you so salty?
Hmm.
Anyway, moving on. So I think that's more about the structure of the event and less like
Sure.
it doesn't have. We don't have to create a whole new event type for it. There could just be like best in affiliations, or there could be a bunch of different things that
Yeah,
we could
that'd be cool.
apply awards or prizes or some kind of standing to. It's like, oh, well, like blah blah blah. We're gonna benefit everybody that does like this well, and so it's not just I didn't go undefeated, so this tournament's like a net negative. Like it's fine. You gotta remember, like in 20-person event, 19 people aren't winning, so like it's okay.
No,
Not
I
a
get
big
you.
Deal. Like you're walking in it with 5% if you're exactly as skilled as everybody else. All right, Parker, you've been pretty quiet.
Mm-hmm. Just waiting to talk about Love and Thunder.
Oh, so you're just not gonna say anything till the end?
Well, I mean, I'm assuming I'm also going to talk about the game.
I know I showed you guys, but I painted Heimdall. I went to do the Rainbow Bifrost, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I was like, no, not happening.
I bought mine and brought it home. That's about all I've done. I did some graphic design stuff today. I made some posters. You guys want to see them?
Posters for what?
The Geekery.
Oh. You guys are really selling out to those magic people, huh?
No? Question mark? What?
They wanted
They
to
only
remember.
support-
They're like, you need to have all these over here and hide your trash cans.
Oh, yeah, the
And-
MTG premium people are
Yeah.
fucking psychotic. Post them in the podcast channel. There's a few different designs I made. They're pretty simple, but, the whole point is to not do too much.
What are they for?
Just like all those paper signs and stuff we have in the building, we have to
Mm.
update those and make them better looking. We
Gotcha.
we want to. So anytime we have like a poster printed somewhere in the store, that's gonna be the frame background for it, and it'll be printed within the border.
Gotcha.
Number 2 is by far the best.
Really?
Oh god, yes.
Well, first of all, they're not actually numbered 1 through 3. They are 2, 3, and 4 because number 1 was so ugly that I just threw it away.
Whatever. The middle one's the
yes.
best.
The middle one on the sampler,
Yes. Which is
I would agree.
very
I
similar
would
to
agree.
the black one.
It's just inverted colors, and then I added the geekery.
It's also
I-
a much
I-
bigger die. Yes.
I expanded it and I uncut, or the geekery branding is underneath the die normally.
Yep.
And then I cut it in the other ones because I wanted more space.
In the sampler,
Yeah, and the
Yes.
sampler ones I didn't leave it in,
And that's
But it's
why I like it
probably
better.
Fine to leave it in.
it still has the die. It still has, but it gives you anyway. Whatever.
Well, I can easily just cut the extra title out.
It's also further up on the page. It doesn't take up as much.
Yes.
The die doesn't take up as much
Yeah.
space. So.
I did a lot more actual editing on that one than I did on the previous 3. The other 3 were just like, put the border on, see what it looks like. Jeremy, I have a question for you. If I only believe in like 12.5% of what's in the Bible, does that make me an atheist? Because it's 1/8.
I hate you.
But I mean, I'm just wanting your opinion.
Yeah. Mm.
Oh my gosh.
Got me early, did you?
I did. I didn't
Cute.
think you were ready for it.
So I've officially decided today that as an adult with children, I just don't play well with the world and their other children and adult bullshit. So we just wrapped up our season of baseball, and
You're not coaching anymore?
I'm done. I'm done for now. No, I'm going to keep coaching because I
Oh, okay.
refuse to let these sons of bitches run about without me dealing with them. Because I must. Justice must be had.
Are
So
you
I
talking about
arrived
the
today-
kids or the dads?
Just the dads. The kids are fine. All the kids are innocent and sweet and whatever.
Is that one guy like, you gotta let my kid pitch like for more of the
Nah.
game? Or like your kid can't even get within 10 feet of the base. Like
This is
like,
a story
kid
of
can't throw a fucking beanbag.
this is a bad coach story, and the coach
Okay.
had kids on the team. So I get there, and it's super hot today, super hot, crazy, crazy, crazy hot. And I look at the thing on my phone, and I'm like, okay, so I'm home team. Home team is on first base, which means I'm over here in this dugout. There's already people there. There's a handful of people. And it's real early, and there's two kids wearing the wrong shirt. And I'm like, okay, so they've made a mistake, as they do. They need to go to the other dugout. So I pull my stuff up, and I'm like, hey guys, and I'm like real casual, and I'm like, hey guys, I think I'm home today, so I'm over here. And the adults are kind of like, huh, and the kids are kind of getting their stuff out, and they're like, well, I think we looked. I'm like, I just checked it. And then all of a sudden, the coach starts coming up, and again, I'm super early, so there's not many people, and there wasn't any coaches at that point. This coach comes up, and I'm like, yeah, man, hey, how's it going? Yeah, we're home team, so I think I'm over here. He goes, they're 9 years old, like they even care. I was like, so at this point, I'm going, who the fuck is this guy? And I go,
I know you enough, Jeremy, to know that you're already at like a 13 out of 10.
Oh.
You're just like, you're doing your best to keep everything together.
oh, dude. And the thing is, my girlfriend was there, and my boys were not there, and my team wasn't there yet. And
So you had no one to embarrass.
Oh,
is what
no.
you're saying.
No. So he goes, he's acting like that, and I was like, okay. I go, but I'm on first base. Like, I'm home team. I just looked at it. So, and he's like, first he said that, and then he goes, the kids won't care. We're just blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, the last time I was here, the umpire cared a lot because these are rules, and this is baseball, and I'm supposed to be on this side. And he goes, like it even matters. And he grabs all his stuff, and he starts pushing all these people over there. And he's like, that's fine. We'll be in the shade, and you sit in the sun. And I go, yeah, it kind of looks that way, doesn't it? And he took all his shit, and he's going, and he's pouting and being a dickhead the whole time. I'm like,
Sounds like he definitely had a reason he wanted to be there, because, like, why would you intentionally sit in the sun?
Because they made a mistake, and he was just being an asshole. So then the umpire comes up before the game starts, and I was like, hey, how's it going? And this is a guy I've talked to many times. And I was like, how's it going? I was like, P.S. I was like, that guy over there is the biggest asshole I ever saw for these kids. Like, this guy, and I told him the story of what happened. He's like, Jesus Christ. He's like, well, the only thing there is to learn when you're 9 years old is the rules of baseball. And one of the rules is first base is here and home is that, we're talking about. And at the end of the game, this was the most important game that I've won all year. And we've won a lot of games. I was like, fuck you, you motherfucker.
Please tell me
Yeah.
you ran up the score so fucking hard.
We went 10-5, and we should have got to hit again. But because we were beating their ass so bad,
They mercy ruled
they were
it.
like, they were like, nah, they go, you cool with that? And I'm like, I'm cool as long as I won. So ended up doing all the high fives and stuff, and I fucking just rolled right past that guy. I was like, fuck yourself, dude.
Mhm.
Just people blow me away. And plus he was yelling at his kid who was a pitcher and just being a jerk to his kid. And just, like I say, I just don't get it. These people, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, we won that game. We went 7-1 this year, and the only game we lost is because I had COVID, and my kids had COVID, so we didn't play. I don't count that one, so I went 7-0. So that
I
was,
love how petty you are about kids baseball.
dude. I'm telling you,
That's not petty. That's the opposite of petty.
That's not petty, yeah.
I mean, you can be.
I wasn't there. We didn't lose.
Oh,
no,
dude,
that's not petty. That's pride.
it is.
Pride.
And I tell you, when you end up having a kid and like you start doing this stuff like this, you never believe how important this shit becomes all of a sudden. Like it's crushing at times for no reason. They're 9, 10. Like there's no reason you should be crushed by this. But I tell you, the one you're just like, why did that kid swing one last time? Are you kidding me? That ball was like nowhere close. It doesn't matter, but it does.
No,
What really mattered is beating these guys that this coach was a total douchebag.
I know exactly how you feel when I'm coaching like super low stakes volleyball. It doesn't matter.
It is. It's super low stakes. There's nothing in it.
As low stakes as you can possibly imagine. It doesn't matter. You're still so invested. I think it's because of the time. You know, I don't know how much you guys practice and stuff, but I put up so much fucking time, my own time, into it. It doesn't even matter if you weren't doing a team sport where you had to get to know kids and you had to learn about who they are as people. Even if you were just fucking repairing robots and watching the robots play, you'd be so fucking mad if the robot broke in the middle of a game. You'd be like, oh, god damn it, 'cause I spent so much time on that fucking robot. Like, and on top of that, they're people with dreams and you care about them and how they feel. So, like, it's you get really wrapped up in it. Very much.
I like the fact you said low stakes, because it is. It's like, it doesn't mean anything in the real world. But to these kids, it means everything, and it's so cool to see them light up on that shit.
I really wish I had been able to like do sports when I was growing up, but we moved around so much and it wasn't really an option for my family. And I really regret that. That's like one of my biggest regrets from high school is like not being able to play sports. But here's my level of knowledge about child sports is I was walking through the gym at Bug Eater, walking down the aisle where they have all like the pictures of the teams on either side of the hallway by the gym. I'm walking down and I'm going, why does Allstate Insurance sponsor these teams? That makes no sense to me. And then I realized it's because they were Allstate in their sport and not this insurance company that sponsored them. It took me a solid 30 seconds to figure it out. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, this is not my realm of expertise.
Yeah. I remember I had a moment like that, only it was not 30 seconds. It was like 3 years. I was in third grade. And I'm always been a fast reader. Like I tear through comic books super fast. And even when I was a little kid, I was a really fast reader, super avid reader. But I didn't realize, now that as a reading teacher, I know that like you build schema for things, right? You learn tricks about how to decipher words very quickly or at whatever pace you're going. And so you will learn things that are just false, but you'll just blow through them thinking, okay, well, I've done reading before, so this is just a word, whatever. And so I was listening to somebody else read out loud, or like a popcorn reading thing, and somebody else was reading in the third grade classroom, and somebody read the word machine. Yeah. And every time for the first 3 years of school, every time I read the word machine, I read it machine. And I had no idea what a fucking machine was. I knew it had to be something because it showed up in books all the time. But
everywhere.
Fucking machines everywhere. But I had never had the opportunity somehow to read that word out loud and for somebody to correct me. And so I just read over the word machine in so much literature, as much literature I guess as a third grader could read. And so in the middle of that classroom, somebody said the word machine, and I out loud exclaimed way too loudly, "Oh, machine!" And everyone just stopped and turned to me, and I looked, and I remember that was the very first time I had ever done that kind of. I think it was the very first time I'd ever done that kind of thing. Something really embarrassing, completely unaware of my surroundings, right? Because I was so absorbed in what was going on, and I remember looking around and feeling completely unashamed by it. But I remember going, machine. Now all the words I've ever read make so much more sense because now I know that this is the word machine, which I clearly knew what the word was but did not know how to say it when I read it. But that is, I'll never forget. Machine.
That's kind of amazing. Like you say that, I read comic books for a long time when I was younger, and I had the same thing happen to me, except it was for Rogue. I pronounced it in my head Rouge. For years, and then suddenly it clicked. And somebody said it the other way, and I was like, a rogue? A rogue? What? Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yep.
My wife and I used to read Harry Potter out loud. Yeah, we were pretty stupid when we were younger, but to each other before bedtime after we were newlyweds. I won't tell you how I mispronounced every single name in that series, but it was pretty bad.
Well, it's the same with Lord of the Rings and all that. It's like, who knows how the fuck you're supposed to pronounce it? One person really knows. Everybody else is just doing their best.
Well, no, everyone knows because he has all the pronunciations in the back of the book, doesn't he?
Oh, I haven't read.
Oh, that's probably
so
true.
He does.
Yeah. Eli's read it at 9.
That would not surprise me at all.
Eli went through all the Lord of the 3 books last year. He's 9 years old. He has no business reading those, but he did. He busted through all of them, and about every 2 days, he'd be like, "What is this person's name?" And I would read it and look at it, and I'm like, "Farlalohola." I'm like, I'm like, "What is it?" I don't know. Move on. Like the names are so complicated.
I don't know. He wasn't in the movie.
You didn't show him the index?
The boys are still like Eli's super pissed that Bombadil. He's like,
Todd
he's not
Bombadil.
in the movie. I don't know why he's not in the movie. Like he's got this whole thing about it since he read it in the book.
All right. Well, we should probably get at it.
Okay.
Do you guys know what? I think we should probably do an affiliation. Either an affiliation or we should do the updated characters. Well, we take a vote. What do you guys want to do? Is there an affiliation that you would like to do, Parker? One that you feel good about rating?
I was looking at. Are we redoing any of the old ones, or are we skipping over any of the ones we already
We will
rated?
be redoing any ones that we want to, but primarily just the ones that are actually errated.
Okay. Any ones that we feel really good about?
Oh shit! Here, you guys talk about this amongst yourselves. I left my water upstairs. I'll be right back.
I'm just trying to think of something that's fairly like relevant and not just talking about the ones that are awesome and the ones that aren't.
I also think it's going to be rough with the quote-unquote new meta, new rules. Like, I haven't played with like anyone other than Shadowlands, and that's only a couple games. So it's kind of all hot takes, I think.
Winter Guard, go.
Severely disappointed.
The hottest of hot takes.
I feel like I could escape that bear.
Let's talk about bear later. Do we want? If we do an affiliation.
I haven't seen a list with Cabal in 400 years.
I
mean, Cabal might be a good one.
I was gonna say we could all talk about. I've played, Cabal. You've played Cabal.
That will be irrelevant in about 4 weeks when Malekith comes out.
That's true. What about
I mean, but we rate the individual characters, not like the affiliation as a whole.
Right.
True, but the characters mean something depending on who they're working for.
A little bit, yeah.
I was gonna say the one of the ones I feel like we could do is Brotherhood. I feel like we've all.
Yeah, I think that's well tread ground.
Also, there's some new Brotherhood characters that are strong. There might be some takes there. I think Brotherhood might be a good one. Honestly, Criminals might be a good one. And it's really important to a lot of people right now. It's a big, and it's not all of them are fantastic winners. In fact, quite the opposite. But we've got a lot of criminal time in this podcast.
I'm fine with any of these. My vote would probably be for Brotherhood. Parker, what's your vote?
I think Brotherhood would be interesting to me right now. I like to do that because it's interesting to me.
Jeremy?
I'm fine with that. Go with that.
So your vote's for Brotherhood?
Yeah.
Okay. Aaron, you go with Brotherhood?
A-Force, but I'm outvoted 3-1, so okay.
A-Force. That's a choice that you just made. All right. So we'll rate Brotherhood. Let me sort this.
Only half helps with the ones that are multiple affiliation.
What'd you say? Sorry?
So it only half helps because of the people with multiple affiliations.
Yeah. The way we usually do this is we'll just do the people at Brotherhood mainly. What are the notable Brotherhoods that we don't have in this list?
Scarlet Witch.
Okay.
Quicksilver.
What's this list? Where are you looking, Brandon?
Character list.
Oh, I see. The one you just reorganized it. I see.
Yeah.
Those might be the only two.
Scarlet Witch and who?
Her brother.
Mm-hmm.
How do you want us to talk about them? Just the model themselves, the model in Brotherhood, some interesting thoughts about the model? Like what do you want us...
It's the model in general. We're not rating them necessarily in the affiliation, but we will talk about character cards like Magneto having magnetic refraction and how important that is for his kit.
Mm-hmm.
we'll talk about them in some situations. Like we'll mention Magneto in Brotherhood is obviously stronger than Magneto out of Brotherhood, even if you don't use his leadership, stuff like that.
We usually the overall rating is when you talk about other cards and other stuff. Usually, unless there's a card like Magnetic Refraction as an example that it's kind of like a power he can use every turn. So sometimes you talk about that in support.
We'll talk about them in we'll mention like, hey, that we're giving this rating. Usually we give them in the ways you commonly see them. Like I'm pretty sure we rated Venom with Lethal Protector at the time, and so you're assuming that Lethal Protector is part of his kit and available to him most of the time. Yeah. Okay. I've resorted it so all of the Brotherhood characters should be together, and then I'm going to give it a little bit of color so it obviously stands out. There we go. Cool. All right. You guys ready to start?
Mm-hmm.
Born ready, died, and had a relapse.
Hell yeah.
Alrighty. Does anybody have anything they want to talk about other than Thor before we get out of here?
Let's talk about Thor for like 10 minutes, and it's getting super late.
Yep.
Okay. So just quick warning. From this point on, we're going to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder. So if you don't want spoilers, stop listening to the podcast. We're not going to talk about anything else. All right. Jeremy, go.
All right. Thor: Love and Thunder. Worse than Doctor Strange. Go. Hot take. Go.
Oof.
Top 5 Marvel movies for me. I loved it.
Oof. Man.
I don't know.
Coming with some hot takes. These are some steaming cold takes right here.
Let me tell you what I really liked about it. I really hate it. It was just it's a common trope in a lot of movies. Marvel is really bad about this, which is no stakes. Like they set something up at the beginning of the movie, like this is a really big problem, and then by the end of the movie, all those problems are wiped away as if they never were actually problems. And it happens so much that I count on it to happen. And so in this movie, Jane Foster is going to die. She dies. Like Gore is a tragic character, not an anti-hero. He dies. Like they did a really good job of the resolution of this movie. The characters actually have the consequences they need to have, and they don't just zimzalabim it. And that's actually one of the things I didn't like about Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, they kept saying, messing with the Grimoire will give you all a bunch of negative repercussions. And then at the end of the movie, he gets the third eye, but it turns out it's just good. It's just a good thing. No problem. No big deal.
We don't know that yet.
I guarantee you it's no big deal. The point of this,
I'm pretty sure.
The point is this: that Doctor Strange plays with dark forces that whole movie, and one of the big secondary themes is don't play with dark forces. They'll mess with you, and he doesn't seem to have any problems. So no consequences for those actions, and I think that's something I don't like about a lot of movies is they make big serious, they put forth big serious consequences, and then nothing happens of it. Love and Thunder was not the best movie ever. There were some problems with it, and I can recount those too. But the thing I like the most is there was consequences, and then there were consequences that happened. They were direct, and it happened before the end of the movie.
Isn't that mostly true of all the Taika movies? At least the MCU ones? Because in Ragnarok, a lot of stuff happens that's like forever bad.
One of the things that I don't like, you're right, but one of the things that I felt like was done better in this movie was Taika Waititi in his comic style likes to undercut consequences a lot. Like a good example is from Ragnarok, right? Surtur is shoving the sword through the Asgard, and Korg says, well, it's not too bad as long as the foundations are strong, and then like Asgard's destroyed. And then Thor,
and they're gone.
Thor's face is awash with grief, but then Korg says, oh, but those foundations are gone. Like it's a joke, right? So we're supposed to feel really intensely for Thor's loss, but it's totally undercut in that moment. This movie did not do that. Like, you were supposed to feel really intensely for Thor's loss of Jane, and they just let you have that. You were supposed to feel really intensely for Gore's loss of the tragic loss and his regaining of his basic his humanity, even though he's an alien at the very end. Like, you felt those tragic losses. They were tragic losses, but the characters were supposed to move on through those losses, and they didn't undercut that with any comedy. So I really liked this one, I feel like he did a good job. I feel like Taika did a good job making serious
Yeah.
consequences and not undercutting him like he did in some of his other stuff.
Yeah, I think obviously the obvious comparison is Ragnarok, and I think it's a perfect comparison to Ragnarok. Ragnarok was a little bit more lighthearted, and this was a little bit more serious and a little bit more grim. But I think it's hard to say you won't like one and not the other. Like, man, they're pretty parallel to each other. But I like them; they're both good. I don't know if I'd go top 5, but I definitely enjoyed it. I loved how it got into the movie so quickly, and then it was like, okay, now we can like live in it for a while. It wasn't like the whole thing was just building up to, when's the thing gonna happen? Well, it's over now. Like, this was a 5-minute scene that we were waiting an hour for.
They gave Jane Foster the hammer in the first 10 minutes of the movie. Like, she's the mighty Thor. Let's do the rest of the movie. And that's my only problem with the movie, is that for some reason, I don't know what it is about exactly Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman, but when you put them on the screen together and ask them to be romantic, I don't believe them. It didn't in any of the Thor movies. I'm just like, I don't think you guys like each other at all. And
it's almost like they were green screened onto the right. It like didn't seem like they were even in the same room half the time.
Exactly. That's how bad their chemistry is. It's almost like they're taping it 2 different times, which they're not. But that's what it looks like. That's how. It's a weird, like, lack of the ability to play off each other. Like, both of them played off Valkyrie better than they could play off each other.
Yeah.
And it's kind of strange. But I don't think that's a writing problem or a directing problem. I think it's just, for some reason, those 2 people.
Yeah, I think it's just like a personal chemistry thing, like you said.
I liked like the last 10 minutes of that movie. Like, I think you're absolutely right. The characters had to deal with some stuff that was real hard, and nothing was perfect, and lots of things kind of passed or died or whatever. And then, I think that it was a little gratuitous that, he's like, I'm going to get my child back and Thor's going to take care of it. And it's just like, that was a little bit, I don't know. Is that in the story? Is that a thing?
No.
I have no idea.
Not
so
even
in my mind, the way that played out the way it did is they just destroyed the sword that was corrupting his mind. And so once he was free of it, he could kind of see clearly again. And then in that moment, he saw his love for the person he was losing. It reminded him of his daughter. Because even though, like, in like his corrupted mind, he was like, I'm doing this because of my daughter. Like, it never felt like he was doing it out of grief or revenge. Like, it felt like it was malicious the whole time he was doing it. And then once the sword was gone, it felt like he was a little bit more human again, and he could see what he had become.
I also really liked that, because in that moment, he looks over and he sees Thor holding Jane like he held his daughter. And my brother and I both said at that moment, we were like, fuck, he's going to heal Jane. He's going to say, well,
yeah, I thought the same thing. And I was like, yeah.
And this would have been right horrible. There. No consequences. Yeah. But then he goes, you know what? No, my motivation has always been my daughter. And so he turns to eternity and says, heal my daughter, make her come back. I don't care, that I won't be there for it. She needs to live. And I was like, that's really good. Like that is a primary character getting their primary motivation concluded and resolved. Like, that makes sense.
I mean, Thor probably should just been a little bit more on the ball and beaten him to the statue and be like, I want Jane healed. And like, it would have been like slightly better for Thor, but
right. And Jeremy, to your point, I could see how that could be, kind of kitschy, that somebody might not want, Thor to have a little sidekick that is also cosmic and stuff, and might just work out a little too well, a little bit too pretty a bow in the end. I get that. But there is also a part of me that actually likes when the MCU is not just panel for panel the comic books. There's something to be said for somebody creating something and going, we're going to make a brand new story and not really worry.
Yeah, and I don't have any problem with that. They've done it in the past, and that's cool. It's always fine. Like, if the story kind of comes together and you're like, oh, that's awesome, yeah. Like, I think I've been just too spoiled in the past, and I keep forgetting that this is just a Thor movie. Because, there was like Captain America movies, but those are really Avenger movies, right?
Yeah.
Everybody comes to the party all the time. So these Thor, like, watching Ragnarok was super awesome. Like, the whole thing was great. But it also had the Hulk, right? It had all these characters that were just kind of like floating around. This one really didn't have that. And also, I agree that Jane Foster and Thor didn't seem like a couple at all. And it was a really weird mishmash of those two. I just didn't like them. But as a movie, I mean, it was entertaining, and my kids liked it a lot. I didn't like it a lot. Like, I can go the rest of my life with not seeing it again, and I'm okay. That's fine.
I think it's going to age pretty well.
I just think I got too spoiled. Some of those movies that they'd made in the past, and even the shows, are just so kick-ass with different things.
I do think the Disney Plus shows kind of spoiled people, because they want, like, this 8-hour commitment from the movies now, and that's just not what they're getting.
Yeah.
Like, they go in, it's like hour and a half, and they're like, oh, like, this isn't as good as Loki. Like, it's like, there's no character development. I was like, yeah, it's not a TV show. Like,
did you like the movie, Aaron?
It's the best movie I haven't seen yet.
oh my god, why didn't you say you hadn't seen it? We would have talked about it.
I don't care.
Okay.
I was like, he's being awfully quiet. He either doesn't like it, or something's going
so
on.
Great.
He's fucking
Aaron,
trolling
why
us
didn't
again.
you say anything? We could have talked about this after we were done recording.
Because I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, I would say, honestly, the Strange and this movie, like, I like Strange just a tiny bit more. But again, neither of them were, like, on the scale of my expectations, which are like, it's not fair.
Like,
I have unfair
Endgame
expectations.
and No Way Home. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and even the new Spider-Man, like, I was thinking back, I was like, man, am I just, like, feeling like they can't, is it just not happening anymore? But shit, man, I saw Spider-Man twice at the theaters, and both times I was, like, cheering. Like, it's fucking incredible.
Yeah. Endgame's still my favorite. There was just, I felt more emotion in the final battle scene than I had in, like, the entire MCU up to that movie. And so, like, it felt like we had literally waited our entire lives for this fight scene, and it paid off. Like, everything was so greatly executed. There was a few, like, low spots in the movie, or in the fight scene, but man, like, the portals opening moment was so...
I'm on your right.
So,
like,
world rocking. Yeah, it was just like, yeah! Like, I've never wanted to stand up and scream in a movie theater before. Like, oh, man.
Yeah,
so
we're just spoiled.
Endgame's always going to be number one for me, just for that moment. And then, man, after that, like, it's so far removed from the rest of the pool that it's hard to even rank the rest of them. I would say probably, like, No Way Home, Infinity War, Iron Man, and then the most recent two, so Multiverse of Madness, Love and Thunder, and Ragnarok probably are all in kind of like a pool together.
Yeah.
It's kind of like mixed together, and then there's like a separation, and then the rest of it.
I have a great time watching Ragnarok anytime. Like, if that pops
it's
up,
just fun.
If it pops up, like, it's my Disney Plus, and I'm like, I'm not doing anything or painting models, fuck, I'll put it on. Like, I love that movie.
Yeah.
There
is not a dead second in that movie. There is
No.
always a joke or an action scene or there's dialogue that's interesting. Like, there is no dead time in that whole fucking movie.
And, like, Hela was just so gnarly. Like, her... that it pisses me off in this game, the Marvel Crisis, like, she's such a putz. In that movie, she was amazing.
I wish she was better.
My favorite Hela is actually Melissa McCarthy. That's my favorite Hela.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. I was not a huge fan of that scene, but it was kind of funny.
It was off. Yeah, it was like such a gag that they're like, we're going to do it. And they're like, we're not really going to do it.
Yeah.
They did it.
Yeah. As soon as they started the movie within a movie thing again, I'm like, okay, I'm totally on board. Like, it took me less than half a second to be super excited about whatever this is about to be.
There was what was it? Oh, I just had it. Shit. There's something about Love and Thunder. Damn it, I'd lost it. I was waiting for Jeremy to finish his point, and I totally forgot what I was going to say.
Was it that there's a new Better Call Saul episode? Because there is.
Wait, what? There is?
Yeah, it started again.
What? There was an intermission in the fucking series? I was like, it did seem to end on a weird cliffhanger.
Yeah, they did the thing where they paused for 2 months and came back. The last episodes are now going to be going, so there's a new episode right now.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
you can watch it right after this.
Don't spoil these for me.
I'm not. I never would.
I love Better Call Saul.
That's one of my favorite shows all time.
Oh, yeah. The beginning of Love and Thunder, when he's fighting the aliens then the Guardians are there. I thought that was like a dream he was having. or like it was like Korg dramatically retelling it. Mm-hmm. And it was like not at all the way it happened, because it's Korg is a terrible storyteller. I thought that was what was happening, because he like striking poses and stuff. Like, this feels so fake. Oh, and so I thought that it was just gonna, like, they cut to Korg just explaining it, and it's like really like Thor wasn't even there.
Also, Tooth Gnasher and was it Bone Grinder, which is his actual Norse, his goats. I love.
Oh, God.
The goats were funny.
I love how they wrote the goats into it as well, because they're actually things in the mythology, and they exist in the comic books. They're sentient, dimension hopping goats, and I love everything.
But they scream the whole time.
That's the best part. I love that they chose to make them screaming goats. I love that they chose to make them, because they're in the comics. They are 100% just they're just set pieces. They might
They're
as well be
intelligent goats.
they might as well be furniture. Like, they don't do anything, but they have names, and he talks about them. But
that's why they did such a good job with Taika as the choosing of the director, because the original 2 Thor movies, like, they tried to squeeze in the comedy because they knew that Thor was such like a dry, like, it's like mythology and everything's supposed to be like so honorable and like on a pedestal, and it's so like uncorruptible, and it's like, this is just boring. And so they tried to weave in comedy in the first 2 movies, and it didn't really work. And then the 3rd movie, they're like, fuck it, we're getting a comedy director. And they just fucking nailed it.
yeah, it's Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder, or his 2 goats. And I love that they put them in the movie. I love that they were in the Guardian ship for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
just
breaking
Just
everything.
screaming, breaking things. Yeah.
because they're giant
So
goats
good.
inside of a confined space. Like, it's never gonna work.
I kind of wish Sif was going to be in more of the movie. I was really excited to have Sif back.
Yeah. My brother was a little confused about it. He goes, where the fuck was Sif? I go, yeah, where was she whenever Hela came and killed everyone? They never explained it, other than that
They
now.
didn't.
They should. Maybe it was the actress wasn't available for the movie or something. That's why she was not in it. But they brought her
Maybe.
back for this one, so hey.
I wonder if they're going to do like a love interest again now that Jane's gone.
Oh my God! Speaking of that, their play with the axe, the way it kept coming around the corner, like
Oh
an
yeah, he's like
ex-girlfriend,
trying to pull
that
Mjolnir
was
back.
awesome. He kept it just kind of like floated in.
Uh-huh.
Hey.
Hey, yeah.
That was- yeah. I think they did a really good job, because a lot of the only complaint from Ragnarok was there was too much comedy, and I think they did a good job of dialing it back to only the places where it was really warranted. Yeah. So you guys think it's better than Ragnarok? I know Jeremy doesn't.
No, I think Ragnarok was better.
I
But
think it's
Parker says it is.
no. I think
Okay.
I think it's really, really close. I think Ragnarok has kind of the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. It's so novel, like it was so original and useful at the moment. And this is not novel, but it is a really good execution version of Ragnarok. I would put them so close to each other as to be hard to tell the difference.
I think long term it will be considered better, but that's my hot take based on recency bias.
Yeah.
Because I think what Parker's said earlier was correct. The gravitas feels better because they didn't interrupt the really heavy scenes as much. But the rest of the movie was still funny and good, and they had great, acting for the most part.
You know, I think one thing that I did have, like, maybe my problem with it is there were so many questions I just didn't feel like had correct answers or good enough answers. Like with Gore the God Butcher, all that stuff. Like, okay, the shadows have monsters in them. How is this? What is this? Like, I want to know about all my monsters and bad guys. Like, I just didn't. I don't know.
Magic.
Yeah, it's magic. And the fact that, like, just where he came from, and like all of a sudden, and like you were saying, like, it was news to me that he was doing all this stuff because the sword just possessed him to do so.
They
Like,
explained that.
no, not really. Like, he was pissed
They
off.
explained that the sword corrupts
He was
people.
yes. However, he was pretty pissed off because his daughter died, so he's got the sword
That's
and he's
fair.
pissed off. Now, if you tell me that he did everything because of the sword, that's different. Or is it a culmination of both? Like, I don't know. The whole thing just
Right.
wasn't fleshed out well enough for me.
I think the goal of there is that you kind of decide for yourself. Like, that's what I did. Like, I kind of drew that line myself at the end, where I was
These
like,
are Marvel movies,
well,
man. Feed
his
me.
actions
No.
before and after the sword are different than his actions with the sword. So I think that's where I kind of drew the line naturally for myself.
We got a pile of children kidnapped. Like, I didn't. The whole thing, I just didn't feel
Cage of children. One cage worth of children.
like. Well, yeah. Like, again, if I had just a tiny bit of explanation or something, there was just, to me, a little something missing in that. But that's just me, and that puts it just slightly below like I say, the other two.
All right. Well, we should probably get out of here because you guys look tired. And I'm
Yeah.
willing to stay up till 4 a.m., but I don't
No.
think you guys are.
I want to play lots of
Parker's
games.
like, no.
I want to play lots of games tomorrow. I need my energy.
All right. All right, let's get out of here. You guys ready?